What I'm going to explain to you here is very, very, very counterintuitive and very hard to see and very hard to understand. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, okay? So, do you guys know what the word frame means? What does it mean to you guys, the word frame?
Kind of like the paradigm of reality that you're seeing.
Yeah, the lens of reality, yeah. What would you call it? Louder, man, come on.
It supports your, it supports something. It's a frame. It's a
Yeah, okay, so it's like the frame around a picture, which basically is the lens that you're seeing the picture through, okay? The meaning, it's the larger meta-level meaning behind something, okay? So what women are really good at doing, they're masters of this, is controlling the frame to where they are the prize, okay? So how are some ways that women are really, really good at control, and women do this at the highest of levels, okay? And they don't necessarily even consciously do it. It's largely unconscious. How are women doing it to where they're able to frame themselves that, like, okay, because let's be clear, okay? When a guy gets laid and he high fives his boy, okay, what is he actually saying? Okay, so you could look at it in some way like, oh, bro, like, you know, a beautiful woman is like this really high value creature who you like slayed, bro. Like, you could look at it like through that frame, right? Another way that you could look at it is that you sat there for an hour licking a hole that someone pees out of, okay, that you risk getting an STD. So basically, you licked a hole that someone pees out of. I'm just trying to show you an extreme version of an opposite. I don't actually think any of this, but I'm just saying, but it's also not wrong either. So you licked a hole that somebody peed out of and enjoyed it, proceeded to put your penis in somebody who could cause your penis to erupt in pus and blisters and disease. Then you proceeded to risk having an 18-year financial obligation, and then with someone who you might not even know that well and haven't vetted thoroughly. This person is probably very hairy, probably has a mustache that she waxes, probably has afro puffs under her arms that she shaves, and probably wakes up in the morning looking like a swamp creature, okay? And then you risk having your penis explode, your bank account drained, and licked a pee hole, but high five, bro. Oh, and she bleeds for a week. And she's emotionally volatile. And if you continue seeing her, you're gonna lose like half your money on her to support her, if not more. And if you were to get married and she leaves you, she'd take everything. High five, bro. Do you guys see what I'm saying here? Yeah. Okay, now that is a frame, okay? That is a frame. Another way of looking at it is like there's literally nothing better than sex with a beautiful woman on the earth. So it just depends on the frame that you're looking at it through, right? Another frame would be you have a best friend, you have a connection. So there's just different frames that we're looking through. So because women carry that liability with them, men carry their own liability too. What's the number one like thing that's probably going to cause harm to a woman in her life? Men, right? How many guys, like, she can get pregnant, and then the guy goes broke, and then he's a fucking loser, and then she's stuck with a fucking kid. You guys don't think that happens to women? As you're learning about frame control, what do we see here? This man is frame controlling the crowd, and that's what we're going to be teaching you about here. But guess what? Why not come to a free event and learn it? Click the link below. We're coming to some major cities: Charlotte, Atlanta, Nashville, LA, San Fran, Portland, Seattle, Salt Lake, Denver, New York City, Chicago. It's gonna be awesome, okay? Click the link, you can learn about frame control. I'll see you there. What happens if you get knocked up by some dude you thought he was cool because he's like an artist in LA and he has cool tattoos, and next thing you know you're pregnant and he can't pay for shit? Right? Or a business guy who, like, you're like, well, I'm not gonna fuck the artist with tattoos that I wanted to fuck. I'm gonna fuck the business guy, but he's actually in credit card debt. And I didn't know that because he just presented well. Okay? What if he's an emotional abuser? What if he's a physical abuser? What if he leaves his kids? What if he cheats on you? What if he's annoying? What if it turns out that he leaves giant shits in the bathroom? Like, do you guys see what I'm showing here? Okay? So these are kind of different liabilities that you're gonna see kind of on each side of it, okay? So then, like, say I were to ask you, what are some of your best experiences you've had with a man, and what are some of your worst experiences you've had with a man? What would be some examples of it?
I feel like some of the best experiences I've had with men are...
Pass her the mic for a sec, too.
or when they're like vulnerable with me. When I get to see that side of them that a lot of other people don't get to see, that I think is one of the best experiences that you can have.
Yeah, the operative thing being that a lot of other people don't get to see it. So she was able to dig it out, so it's special instead of just gushing everywhere. Okay, what are some of the worst experiences that you could have had with a guy? Not even like trying to throw shade or anything at a specific person, but just in general.
Like a real, genuine situation. Assault.
I'm not surprised. That's why I asked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's tough.
So then if you're meeting a guy, you could have everything from a really good emotional connection to just being beat up. And that's kind of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Or bored.
Yeah, I mean, you could be bored, you could be sick of them, you could be, annoyed. But obviously if you're going the extreme, like if you're being assaulted, it's much worse than me thinking you're annoying, you know? Got it. But yeah, I would say probably those two are like the better extremes.
I wouldn't want to try to beat you up. I think you'd beat my ass, by the way. I don't know. You'd be a hard woman to beat up, I think. You probably fed it back to him pretty good, I bet. I think you did, yeah. I think you could. Okay. I could see that. Or did you actually start training, because you look like you trained pretty hard. Did you actually start maybe training after that happened?
I do. No, that was new. In the last couple of years, I just was sick of complaining about insecurities and was like, we're going to fix it. So, yeah. But that's definitely, it's helpful, to know that I can kind of defend myself. Like I got my LTC. Yeah. So that just your license to carry.
Well, then you can definitely defend yourself. Yeah. So don't fuck around. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Got it. Right. Okay. So, but do you guys see like the fact that she would even feel inclined to get the LTC, right? So do you see how there's like can you kind of put yourself out of your own male brain and put yourself into a woman's brain and kind of see like what she's dealing with? Okay. So then basically, so pretty much what you're dealing with is like a pro and con. Okay. So then you have the frame. Okay, so the frame is basically the buyer-seller dynamic to where who is the person who is getting lucky and getting the better deal, and then who is the person who is actually kind of like lowering themselves in order to have, and I don't like using the word transaction when it comes to romance, but I'm just going to use it because end of the day it is partially like everything is partially transactional. You guys being in this room is partially transactional. It's transaction on your time, right? There's a transaction in everything, okay? So then what do women do that's so effective in framing it to where the guy is not licking the pee hole, and that's the frame, but that he's getting lucky, and to where most men basically would like walk over glass in order to get laid? What's the way, or to get a girlfriend? What is the way that the framing that women do that's really good? Yep.
I think it's
Give me some volume.
definitely the way that they selectively use their attention.
That's massive. Did you guys catch that? The way that they selectively use their attention. How do they selectively throw them? Could you throw him the mic? Actually, you could throw it to him. Got it? Okay.
I'll catch.
Okay. How do women selectively use their attention?
Yeah, I'd say women are really, really good at noticing when you're noticing them or when you're giving them too much attention or not enough, or I don't really know. I just kind of noticed they're very good at subconsciously kind of communicating that.
The way that I would put it is they're really good at getting it to where if you don't keep them entertained and you don't keep good vibes and you don't keep high status, they kind of just wander off. So then you're always in this mode where if you're not completely on point, you literally cannot have any success in interacting with her, right? So it almost gets to the point where, like, to me, the girl is like shooting a soccer ball with a fire hose, and you're just trying to like move it across the street. And if you go even slightly this way or slightly this way, the thing's gonna shoot off to the side, right? So you guys know that, right? Like if you're talking to a girl, like one little thing wrong, and she's like, I'm not feeling it, and she just leaves. A lot of guys like have a hard time with that, right? Now, from your perspective, you could maybe toss her back the mic there. From your perspective, because I think a lot of guys get frustrated by that, say that a guy like gives a bad vibe. My personal impression why girls bounce is because there's so many different guys that are coming at you that why would you stay there if you're not getting a good vibe from it? Like it's like if you're in a movie and this movie sucks, you could just go like that and another movie comes and you don't have any investment in that guy yet because you don't even know him yet. That's how I think about it. How do you think about it?
I mean, I think it could definitely be an options thing. I think it could be, it's almost like supply and demand, right? Like if I'm at the center of attention of 10 different people and one of them is doing horrifically and there's 2 of them that are doing great and the rest of them is like yet to see, well, I guess we can look at the 2, but I think the problem also in today's society is you're consistently looking for what's better. It's a huge problem. So it depends on what the frame of mind is of the particular person. I mean, I think that's just in general, but I think options is a big thing. Like if I have my pick of anyone in this room and you're not doing well, well then, sorry, but on to the next.
Yeah, and does that make you like a low empathy psycho, or is that more just like? Because I think some guys feel that way sometimes. They're like, well, yeah, like, well, can't she just be nice, like stuff like that. But you got to understand, like this. How I'm just gonna tell you how I see it. I'd like to hear how you see it. I see it like, okay, here's how I think about it. First of all, the girl has no way to know what this guy's intentions are. She has no way to know if this guy's just trying to bang and basically just trying to get one over on her. Does her value go up or down if the guy just fucks and then leaves?
Down.
Her values basically go, it doesn't help her social value, right? So it's not like that guy's there, like, I'm just trying to be nice, like, why can't we just be friends? You know what I'm saying, right? Like, that's not what's happening, okay? And then it's almost like an actor in LA trying to make friends with Steven Spielberg or some shit like that. Like it's not a genuine friendship, like he's trying to get a benefit out of it, right? And then from there, I would say that, so it's not like he's necessarily there trying to add anything. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Not necessarily. He actually might be, conceivably, very conceivably, but he's not necessarily there. And then the other thing is she has no emotional investment in that guy. She doesn't know you, right? So if you guys are in a movie and your friend is the director, are you going to support that movie if your friend is the director and pay the thing and actually go see the movie?
Yes.
But what if you're not friends with any of the directors? Which movie are you going to see?
Biggest one.
You're going to see the best, coolest, either the one with the most social proof or the one that's the most fun. Or whatever, you're gonna go see that, right? But does that make you a psycho? Like, how come you couldn't support the little guy whose movie sucks?
Reality.
Why? How come you couldn't support the little guy? Like, that guy put his heart and soul in that movie. Why are you? He might have a box office flop, and you couldn't even support him. He's gonna be sad now. So, what would be your rationale for why you would go to either like the most socially proof or most entertaining movie? What would be the way that you kind of make that make sense in your head? How do you make that make sense in your head?
Making the most out of my time.
Make the most out of your time. How about this? Okay, go ahead. What else? Louder.
I can't support every director that wants.
Yeah, I can't support. Yeah, make the most of your time. I can't support every director. Yep.
I don't know you anything.
I don't know you, so there's no relationship built. We haven't built anything. Yep.
Have the most fun, best experience.
Yeah, the most fun. Yeah, the best experience. I'd say another one too would be, on some level, you almost want that guy to get the negative feedback so he can wake up.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude. Like, your movie sucks. Wake the fuck up. Like, good luck with this. But you got to keep working on it, right? That doesn't make you a low empathy person just because you're not trying to support, a shitty movie, okay? That doesn't mean that you're some transactional person. It just means that you're confronting reality, with it, right? So what could that movie creator do in order to get it to where you would watch his next movie? What could he do?
Do better.
Okay, say that louder.
Do better.
He could do better, right? Okay.
Better
What else?
advertisement.
What's that?
Better marketing.
Better marketing for the movie. Yeah, what else? Maybe creating more hype around the movie.
Or more ads, whatever. Getting
Okay.
more eyeballs.
Yeah, some more eyeballs on it. Okay, right? So yeah, make it more of a phenomenon, right? Is your time valuable to you?
Sure.
Does this make you a bad person because your time's valuable? Okay, now let me say this, okay? If you're in a relationship with a woman, right, and you fuck up, you don't have unlimited bandwidth and flexibility to be an idiot, right? But you do have more than in the first 10 or 20 minutes, right? In the first 10 or 20 minutes or the first couple hours, you have almost none. You have literally no flexibility whatsoever, right? But later on, people drop their guard and you have that. But anyway, what I'm saying though is regardless, because women do have that, does that put them in the position of the buyer or the seller?
Buyer.
They're the buyer, okay? So you're now trying to sell yourself, okay? Now here's the main key that guys need to understand, okay? This is the biggest thing. The problem is, you guys know the word the ick?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that you're talking to a guy and then he says something that is off-putting to you. How do you experience that in your body? What's that feel like in your body?
It's almost like I want to retreat. Like I want to get as far away from you as possible, and I want absolutely nothing to do with you. Like I don't want to look at you. I don't want to see you. I don't want to know you exist. I actually want to get as far away from you as possible.
Okay,
And it's it's a weird feeling. Like
Yeah.
you really retreat. Like it's disgusting. Like that's the only way that I can explain it.
I thought that's perfect. Yeah, because I'm very aware that it's true, as are you guys, right? So here's the thing, okay? So why might she feel that, right? Is it because she's mean? Why is her biology? Look, I can only speculate. I'm not a scientist. But what would be a common sense reason that biologically she might feel that? What would that mean?
Factors where she's going to die based on some survival observation from pattern recognition.
Yeah. What else? Yep.
She doesn't want to be stuck.
Louder, man. We're training you. Do the training.
She doesn't want to bait a baby that she'll be stuck with for 9 months.
Yes, correct. Okay, that's a big one, right? So how much investment of her now, of course, we have contraceptives now, but how much investment of her biology is that if she has a kid with the wrong guy?
Like 100%.
Life or death.
Okay.
It can ruin your life.
Can ruin your life. Yeah, could you describe any friends who have their, I mean, like, I'm sure that they're happy about their babies because everyone loves their baby, but could you describe maybe some of your friends that, like, mess up their quality of life by having a kid with the wrong guy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and also, like, look at it from a lens of, like, from your perspective. Do you really want to get to know, like, a single mother? Do you want to take on the opportunity, like, someone else's, you know? Like, it's just not, her value, unfortunately, in today's society goes down if you have a child with someone else, and now it's, like, your responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah, luckily there's so many desperate guys these days that they can always get a guy. But those guys that don't have to choose it, it's going to be harder for them to pull that off. It doesn't mean impossible, by the way. I certainly think women can overcome it. There's many cases of it, right? Megan Fox was dating MGK, for example, and even though I know you guys probably think that guy's retarded, a lot of girls like MGK, right? So the point is, like, she was able to get past it, but it's definitely like an obstacle to, you know, that she has, right? So that, or also the guy just doesn't pay up on child support, or like they try to worm their way out of child support. Look, I'm not trying to be a white knight here, okay? Like, I'm not a white knight here, but, like, I have kids. I love my fucking kids. I find it so crazy. Like, I'll have buddies of mine that are like, yeah, I raw dog this girl while I'm in Mexico, and I'm like, okay, like, why? And they're like, well, because, you know, she doesn't have my number, ha ha. And I'm like, you're not going to want to see your own kid. You're going to literally have endless decades of remorse over this shit. It's not a joke. I know that when you're busting a nut, like in a, you know, raw dogging some girl, that it feels very positive. But it's going to be a lifetime of remorse and regret if you have any degree of, like, functioning brain if you do that, right? But and all my friends say shit like this. Like, so many of my buddies are like, yeah, like that. I'm like, dude, like, when it's your kid, it's completely different, bro. So then basically what you have is, like, the girl's feeling that to prevent problems, okay? Now, let me make another point, right? So you guys might think to yourself, okay, like, how come this has to be so hard? The reality is that learning to talk to people only takes 2 to 3 years to do at an elite level. It really does. So that is basically just the capacity to socialize is basically just a simple screen that any young man should be able to have down by the time that he's 23 or 24. There is no reason why everybody can't learn that at a young age, okay? So if a guy really couldn't figure that out, that's a serious, serious fucking problem. So the Rubik's Cube that is women, that seems a little bit complicated, is probably figure-outable within about 2-3 days at a high level. At an advanced level might take 6 months to a year, and at an elite level only takes 2 to 3 years. And when I say an elite level, I mean you're running out to the fucking party that you're going to, and, like, you got girls crawling all over you. So it's really not as complicated of a thing as people make it out to be. It's a learning curve at the same level as, like, playing an instrument or, like, you know, playing a sport or something like that. Like, it's nothing that's really that complicated, okay? And girls learn how to do it. So there's no reason that a guy can't learn how to do it. And I understand guys' brain is wired differently, maybe not has high aptitude for it, but you could definitely learn how to do it, okay? So then knowing that the girl at any moment can have the ick, what does that do to you as a guy? How does that affect you as a guy when you're talking to the girl? Let's say you really like her and you see how your life could be a lot better with her in it. How does that affect your brain?
You might get nervous.
You get nervous?
Play it safe.
Play it safe? What else? So all good answers? What else?
You can fuck it up just like.
Yeah, and it's like hours of time. Like, you could have been hanging out there for 2-3 hours. One wrong thing fucks it up, and then it's gone. So actually, as you get, it's almost like playing a video game that doesn't have a respawn option if you die, like, towards the end boss, right? So if you fuck it up, even the last 5 minutes, you go back to zero. You don't keep the progress. So then, what is the, how does that affect you, like, psychologically?
Overthink it.
Overthink it, yep. What else?
You gotta, like, be on your A game. Like,
Be on your A game, yep.
forces you to.
Okay, yep.
I feel like the frame switches, so basically you're not vetting her, you're making her vet you, so you're just trying to prevent the ick instead of making sure that she's right for you.
Yeah, so what you're basically in this kind of ick prevention gear is what's going on. Let me show you how to switch the frame on this, okay? Here is what you're gonna realize, okay? This is basically what it comes down to. The problem is, repeat this after me, there's too many icks.
There's too many eggs.
Okay, so the only answer is you have to shut off the ick mechanism
Shut off.
and engage a different part of the brain. Okay, this is literally the only way that it can happen. There's no other way that you can actually learn how to deal with this. There's literally no other way, okay? So now, I have a video where you see me say, hey, I'm gonna be doing a cool party. Are you a vibe? Have you ever seen me say this? I do this as a joke to say the most ridiculous thing I can. I go, are you a vibe? And then the girls will be like, yes. And I'm like, no, but are you stuck up? And they're like, no. And I'm like, but are you a vibe? Yes, I'm a vibe. And I literally can repeat this for like 5 minutes fucking straight. No, but are you stuck up? No. But are you a vibe? Yes. And I can literally just do this on loop, and then they jump through. But do you have this kind of vibe in the daytime as well?
I would say so.
Like, okay, like, are you a vibe?
I'm a vibe.
Like, are you a vibe?
I would say I'm vibes for anything.
But what I'm saying is, are you a vibe?
Yes, I'm a vibe.
Okay, are you stuck up?
No.
You're a friendly person?
Yeah.
Are you adventurous, or you're kind of like just like a homebody?
I'd say I'm both. I'm both.
Yeah?
For sure, I'm both.
You're both?
Yeah.
But if someone invites you for an adventure, you're not just like, I'm a homebody.
No, I'd say yes. I'd say yeah.
For real?
Yeah. I'd say yeah.
Are you smart?
No, I'm not smart.
No?
No.
But that's why you're a vibe. You focus on being a vibe.
Yeah, I'm just like whatever.
Are you sketchy?
No.
Are you a schemer?
No.
Are you a sweetheart?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, I can see that.
Thank
I
you.
can see it. Would your friends vouch for you? Is that your friends back there?
Yeah, my.
Okay, are you over 21?
I am.
You want to be in the video?
Sure.
Okay, so I was asking her. I was asked.
best friend.
I can feel it. I feel like your sisters actually.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm asking her, is she a vibe?
She is.
But she's a vibe for real.
Yes, I wouldn't
but-
be friends with her if she wasn't.
If she wasn't, are you a vibe as well?
I can be. She is. She is.
Are you a vibe?
She is. I don't know. That was our best friend.
Are you stuck up?
No.
You're not stuck up for real?
I get tired. I get tired quickly. I like to go in a little earlier than most.
Okay, but is
people.
that just your excuse for being stuck up? You're like, no, I wasn't stuck up. I was just tired.
No, she's not stuck up. She's not stuck up.
So she is a vibe.
She's a vibe.
You are a vibe.
I am a
Say
vibe.
it. Tell me you're a vibe.
I'm a vibe.
No,
yeah.
make me feel it.
I'm a vibe.
No, make me feel it.
Vibe.
Make me feel it. Are you stuck up?
No, I'm
Are
not.
you stuck up?
I'm not.
Swear to the entire world, to the world that you're a vibe.
I swear.
And you're not stuck up.
I'm not.
And that low energy thing was not just an excuse not to be.
It's not.
Bia,
I'm being honest.
okay, okay. I'm gonna ask her what she thinks.
Okay.
But you could do this on guys too. I'll be like, but are you a good vibe, bro? No, dude, bro, I'm a great vibe. Yeah, but you're gonna get drunk. You're gonna get drunk at the party and be all fucking weird and creep everyone out. No. Yeah, but then are you boring? Like I don't even drink at all. I never even drink at all. But I'll just say this. I'll be like, yeah, but are you like boring? Like you won't drink at all? No. I'm like the right kind of drinking, right? So you can get them to start like, to start doing that, right? So the best example I can think of in existence is art, cars, and watches, okay? This watch here, let me give you an example, okay? Now, believe it or not, this watch, if you have the money to buy it, it's actually free, because when you buy a watch, you can just sell it. I'm probably up on this watch, okay? Like, I probably made 20 grand buying this watch. I want to be clear about this, okay? So with like Audemars Piguet, Patek's, RMs, Rolex, all the shit, if you buy the right ones, you're usually up on the watch. I'm probably up 10 or 20K on this, and I'll sell it at some point and switch into some other watch. But the point is, like, a watch like that, which again is stupid, what do you guys think that costs?
200 grand.
It's not 500 grand, no. This is like pretty straightforward Patek. This is maybe 110 grand, okay, for a watch like this. I've got watches more expensive than this too. So if that watch is 110 grand, you look at it, you go, your brain is gonna go, wow, like, what's so good about the watch? Like, oh, you can see the movement in the back of the watch. Like, look at it, it's beautiful. Oh my God, it's a Patek Philippe Nautilus. That's the hardest watch to get, or whatever, right? It's not the hardest watch, it's an example one, right? So the point is, like, how can we believe that this watch is $110,000? What kind of framing does Patek have to do to make you beg them on hands and knees, basically like to lick the bleeding pee hole in order to get the watch?
Scarcity.
Scarcity is huge, yep.
You can't have it now.
You can't have it. What kind of people get to have it? Really special people, high status people. What's that?
I was just gonna say, it's just a status thing.
It's-
People are, like, chasing.
Yeah, you're chasing an image, status.
The entry level is so high.
Yeah, the entry level is so high. So let me ask you a question. If you walk into Patek and you put down 100 grand and you say, hey, I want that Nautilus, will they give it to you?
No.
Okay, so why won't they give it to you?
They don't know who you are.
Yeah, so they're judging you. Okay, so they say, no, I gotta get to know you. Then what they do is they get you to buy the Calatrava. Okay, the Calatrava is the shitty watch. It's actually a nice watch, but it's like a watch that nobody would ever want to buy. Okay, so first you got to buy the Calatrava, then another Calatrava, then like the crappy woman's Aquanaut for your wife, then all this stuff, right? And then eventually, when you're at about $1 million in spend, maybe if you wait 2 or 3 years, they'll do what's called an allocation. Do you guys know what an allocation is? Okay, so you spent 1.5 million. You always just wanted the damn Nautilus, right? Like that's the one that everybody tends to want is the Nautilus. So you spent 1.5 mil, you waited 3 years, and you got an allocation. Oh my God, I got an allocation. What's that mean that you finally got an allocation? What's that mean?
You have been chosen out of a pool of candidates.
Yeah, and for what? So now that you spent 1.5 mil and waited years, do they give it to you for free? Is that what the allocation means? You get it for free? What, like when someone goes, I got an allocation, what does it mean?
You're allowed to buy it.
You're allowed to buy it. You're allowed to give them, you get the privilege to give them another 100K. And then you're like,
I thought it was actually worse. I thought you were gonna say you can only spend 1.5 mil.
No. Well, some of those watches are 1.5 mil.
So far.
Yeah, some of them are 1.5 mil. Now, to be fair, with a watch like this, when you buy it, you'll make money off it. So they do that because, like for example, even a stainless steel watch like a Rolex Pepsi, look, if you guys look up like Rolex Pepsi on your phone, like a basic Rolex, you'd buy that for about 11K, and you could sell that for about 23, 24K the same day. So they have a reason to make you kind of wait and jump through hoops, right? They want to know if you're like a real buyer, you're not a flipper, because everyone's just trying to flip it, right? But their main goal is to keep the value up. Now, what do you think is going to happen if you're already 1.5 mil deep and you get the call for the allocation? Are you going to run and go get the allocation, or are you going to go, nah, I don't want to spend 100 grand?
You're going to run to get the watch.
Why is that?
Because you've invested at 1.5 mil.
Because you're deeply invested into that watch, okay?
All this time.
Now, I'm not going to bring a video camera into a Patek store, right? It would piss them off. But I would urge all of you guys to go to a Rolex store, Patek store, AP store, RM store, and actually see what they do to you psychologically, how they kind of look at you like you're not, they're nice about it, and they're very, very nice about it, but they slightly look at you like you're not good enough, and they're evaluating you. And then even if you put your name down, they're gonna go look you up and see if you can even be part of it. Look, there's a gym in LA called HIMAT, H-E-I-M-A-T. It's almost $400 a month, right? And I'm like, it actually looks like a pretty cool gym. I wouldn't kind of mind going to that. And literally, I was talking with Alex, and we're like, yeah, do we want to get a membership there? We thought it could be kind of fun just to do some work there, like just not even because I'm even trying to network at all. Like I just think it could be like a quiet, beautiful environment just to get some work done. It's just a really nice environment, right? And I'm like, well, do I want to give them like, $5,000 a year or whatever it would cost? Plus you're gonna have to like Uber there, Uber back, like your Uber bill, your gas bill, all that when I have a gym at home. Do I want to do that? It's probably like $6,000 a year just to be able to go to a gym, right? Then I found out that you have to apply and that a lot of people get declined. What do you think that did to me?
Yeah. Sign me up.
How much do you think I wanted to get it after that?
Oh, wow.
Alex, how much did I start talking about it after that?
Yeah, you talk about it the whole time.
Yeah. I'm like, well, how do we get in? Like all this kind of stuff, right? Now, if they would have called me and said it's available, what would have happened, you think?
You wouldn't have.
Yeah, so that $5,000-6,000 is gone like that, right? So when I talk about the ick, what would be the ick on a watch like this? What's the logical ick on a $100,000 watch that basically is like the kind of thing you get at Macy's for like $500?
Everybody can get it.
No, but I'm saying like, what would be an ick? Like, is this silly little timepiece more accurate than your iPhone?
No.
Is this silly little timepiece easy to break?
Yeah.
What happens if I drop this even one time? Yeah, like my phone, no problem. You think I can do that with this?
No.
I know it looks pretty dumb. It's for the video. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, but the point is like, anything for the video. But like this can break easily, it's fragile, it's complicated, it's traumatic. What do you think the upkeep is on this? Like, what do you think it costs, like, get the timepiece moving again every couple of years?
Couple of grand?
Couple thousand. You see what I'm saying, right? So it's a couple thousand in maintenance. It's fragile. It's the same watch as what you can get at Macy's, but they just have a special brand. When you look at it, it's just a little, it looks like a 1970s television set.
A little Casio.
Yeah, it's like a Casio or something, right? So, do you guys see how there's too many icks? So how can you get somebody to buy a $100,000 watch if they're selling it to you? The answer is you can't. So how does the watch industry do it?
They flip the buyer-seller dynamic.
They shut down the ick mechanism by flipping the buyer-seller dynamic. That's literally the only possible way that they can do it. There's no other possible way at all. It has to be done. What are women really good at doing to you? They're not even knowing they're doing it.
Flipping the by yourself.
Yeah, look. There's going to be a snowstorm here tonight, right? If you woke up at 4 in the morning with a beautiful girl texting you saying to come over for sex, would you get up and brave the snow to go over?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Probably.
You would, right? But what if she was your long-term girlfriend and you've hit it thousands of times?
No.
Then you won't do it, right? So do you see that, right? So the thing is that it's not placed on a pedestal anymore. So yeah, so as a result of that, she's depedestalizing herself, right? So actually, when a girl has sex with you, why does that make her vulnerable? And I'm not just talking safety-wise, and I'm not talking biologically. What is that making vulnerable?
Her SMV.
That's making her SMV, her value, vulnerable when she has sex with you because she's removing the value, right? She's removing the leverage, okay? And I don't think body count is as big of a thing as it used to be these days at all. But the point is that back historically for women, how would that have affected them historically?
They're like ostracized.
Yeah, it's like it fucks with their value, right? So when a girl's actually going to hook up with you, she's losing frame basically. That is actually why when a guy has a lot of success with girls, what that communicates to girls, like all these girls are willing to drop frame just to get at this guy. So it's a pretty big deal if all these women were willing to drop frame to like hook up with that guy. That's a pretty big fucking deal, okay? So what's happening is that the girl has her frame and then she's dropping her frame for that guy, okay? So then what's going on from there is there has to be, like if you're looking at the buyer-seller dynamic, right? When you go up to a girl and then you get rejected, you know that feeling that you feel like shit if you get rejected unless you know how to manage it properly? Yeah. That's in many ways the feeling of you losing frame. Like you went up, you approach, she didn't want to talk to you. What does that communicate to surrounding women?
He's not worth it.
Yeah, he's kind of a loser. You see where I'm going? You see where I'm going with this, right? He's kind of a loser, et cetera, et cetera. So,
especially if you were back in a tribe and there's only so many people and you go and shoot your shot, now you might not get another shot.
Yep, I can see that too. Yeah, they call that like negative social proof, right? So, okay, so you have negative social proof. Okay, so you can, and also you kind of put yourself out there and then you got shut down. So that's also what a girl feels if she hooks up with a guy and then that guy like doesn't want to be her boyfriend or doesn't like continue to penetrate. Now, a lot of girls these days are more open about sex and it's not as big of a deal. But the point is that back in the day, that's kind of like what you're dealing with, right? So that's the buyer-seller dynamic. So there's always an ongoing buyer-seller dynamic that's occurring. So when I say that you have to shut down the ick mechanism, what are the liabilities that a girl has and how does she shut down the ick mechanism on a guy? How does she shut that down? Liabilities are pregnancy with someone you don't know, STD, bleeding everywhere, she's expensive as fuck, risk of divorce if you got married, all those things. It's a huge liability. But women are really good at shutting this down on men. How are they doing it? How do women run their night? What do women do when they run their night? What is like game for a woman?
Like she had. Go ahead.
Fun.
What's that?
They have fun and they dance.
Okay, that's actually a great point. So a big one is they go out, they have fun, and they dance. What is that? Look, they're actually just having fun. I'm not trying to like make everything about frame, but that being said, it does have an impact as well. So what does it do when a girl goes out and dances with her girlfriends? What is that doing for her?
She gets in flow state.
She gets into flow state. What else?
She's not logical at all.
She's not logical? Okay, the big thing it does is that it shows that she can have fun without you. Right? She's clearly having maximum fun without your dumbass. Okay? Maximum fun without you. She doesn't need you. And women are very good at doing this. Women that are really smart will not only go out and pump their state with their girlfriends or even their male friends or their gay friends, but also what they'll do is they'll build a life outside of men that is really fulfilled. And women actually talk about this. You know, like you've got to build it, right? Like guys like Aaron Dowdy, my friend, if you know him, he coaches a lot of girls, and he gets girls to do that. Like it's a really, really big thing, okay? So if you look at a woman, one of my favorite things about going home with a girl, you guys will laugh at this. This will sound kind of ridiculous. I actually am very curious to see her inner world. Like I actually like going back to a girl's house more than going back to my house. and hooking up with her because I'm curious to see how she lives, actually. It's very interesting to me. Like, right, and a lot of time when you go back to your girl's house, they'll start playing their favorite songs for you. They'll play their favorite music for you. They'll show you their pets. They'll show you like the things that they like. Like they'll spill the beans, right? It's like really interesting to see how they've like kind of built this nest, like what they've built for themselves. Very interesting to see how they've done it. And I've been turned on all sorts of different musicians and art and TV shows, like all sorts of stuff that I've just learned from girls. So the thing is, like, you can actually kind of see how they live and how they keep their state stable. So what are the different ways that you keep your state stable to where you don't need somebody? And why is non-neediness so attractive? What do you
got the frame, you're not reacting.
If you're not needy, you have frame, right? So Paddock, go to Pat. Look, you want to see the ultimate in non-neediness? Go to Paddock and ask them to buy a watch. Watch how non-needy they are. Okay? Watch how they flip it right back around on you. Go, no, not happening. Get out. And you're like, holy shit, right? Like, and then makes you want it more. Okay? Like that gym that's like, no, you can't have the gym membership. Not happening. You've got to fit the exclusive clientele list, right? So people want to get it out of ego. Okay? This is why a lot of the time girls have sex with a specific guy. Because, okay, take a guy like Pete Davidson. Why do you think Pete Davidson is suddenly able to date all, like, literally, like, the most famous girls? I don't think famous girls are that attractive in many cases, by the way, but I'm just making a point, like, why is he dating, like, the most famous women?
He's on SNL, and he's around all the
So he's on SNL, that's great, but not everyone on SNL is Pete motherfucking Davidson, bro. Right? Same as Derek Jeter. There's plenty of guys on the Yankees, but they didn't hit out the park like. Go look up Derek Jeter's dating list. It's the most obnoxious. Like, there's nothing more obnoxious maybe ever in human history. Like, every girl who you think is cool, fuck Jeter. Okay? Every girl that you've ever seen on TV has had sex with Derek Jeter. Okay? Basically, like Leo DiCaprio, Derek Jeter, and Pete Davidson. Like, pretty much they've like got you covered. Okay? Like, they got you covered, bro. Okay? That girl that you looked at, you're like, wow, she's amazing. Like, they got you covered. One of them hooked up with her. So why specifically, what is that, if the girl gets to date Pete Davidson, now Pete Davidson's the rebound guy, by the way, okay? That's kind of a funny brand. But so say that a girl has a breakup and then she gets to rebound with Pete Davidson. Why is that like raising her status in her mind? Because only the hottest, most famous girls get to have a rebound with Pete Davidson. So now you're now there with Kim K, Kate Beckinsale, like all these different famous girls. You're like one of them now.
So it puts their status up, basically?
In their mind. I don't know if many guys are that impressed that the girl banged Pete Davidson, but the point is in their mind and to the other girls who they get to like fucking floss it in front of, that's what's happening, right? So with a Paddock watch, if you go on Google right now, who wears a Paddock? Well, then you're like, oh, well, you're like one of them now. Of course you're not, but you can feel like you're one of them, right? Like, who wore a Rolex? Who wore this? Oh, wow, they wear that? So I'm like one of them now, okay? Because they have frame. So when you're framed as the guy that, like, you only date a certain caliber of women, women will flock to you to get their ego gratification that they were able to get you, okay? This watch here is completely, utterly arbitrary. It's absolutely arbitrary. It's just some random watch made in the 1970s and that somehow people like think is a big deal, okay? It's not, there's better watches out, better looking watches out, more interesting watches out, more advanced watches out, all sorts of watchmaking technology. It's dubious whether or not haute horology is even a good way of making a watch anyway when you could just do a digital watch. So, you know, I think it's really cool, I appreciate it, but I'm just making the point that like, it's debatable, okay? So, you've got to frame yourself on some level as like, if you're with me, that puts you on another level. When Tony Robbins...
Like, don't say that. You know what I mean? I feel like they're, yeah.
Correct. You don't say it, okay? Yeah, Pete Davidson doesn't go to Kim K and be like, when you rebound with me, you're on another level, right? You don't say it overtly, yeah. Yeah, that's called self-qualification. So what she's driving at, because she's probably not super deep into my content, I have like I basically have like encyclopedic lists of like how men self-qualify. So it's like lists of this shit. Like every single thing that you're doing to self-qualify, and you gotta literally just tear that out, right? Have you guys ever seen it where like I go and talk to like 20, 30 different girls a night, and the girls are just jumping on me?
Saw that last
You ever see this? You saw it last night? Okay. So you saw it last night. Okay. So people wonder, like when they see it, it looks like voodoo magic. They're like, well, how's that happening? And none of it makes any sense. No, the reason why is two things. I'd probably say it's three things. Number one, I'm not self-qualifying, which every guy is self-qualifying, or almost. Number two is I've mastered my energy, so I'm putting out good energy. And number three, I've mastered my subcommunication, so my voice is on point, my eye contact's on point, my body language is on point. So basically, if you don't say the word don't self-qualify at all,
Don't self-qualify at all.
have control of my own energy,
Control my own energy.
have control of my communication,
Have control of my communication.
and then pump up the vibe with illogicality.
Pump up the vibe with logicality.
Yeah, I mean, if you have those things combined with like a half-decent social media and a fun place to go, it's over, dude. Like, your problems are over. Okay, if you could just do those things. The problem is most of us self-qualify. We don't have control over our state. We don't know how to be funny because we're too logical. We have bad communication. Our communication habits are lazy. And so that's why guys are getting screwed. And then that's why they wind up going to like, whether it's like the whole, like the classic manosphere stuff of like, you've got to be like a millionaire and you have to have like this kind of a car, or now the new one is looks maxing, you have to do surgery and all that kind of stuff. And they're completely ignoring what actually works. Now, I've been out with these guys and I promise you, the results that I'm getting when I go out are like 50x on the level of any of those guys that are doing that. And that's why those guys will never post videos of themselves talking, or most of them. A couple of them will actually do it. Clav actually posts videos and stuff going on. I appreciate that about him a lot. But what I'm getting at is most of them will never show it because they're not getting good reactions. Their only videos will be them like sitting with their boys smoking a cigar because they don't know those 4 things. If they just knew those 4 things, they would stop being paranoid, thinking that you need to be a millionaire, and then they would just say, go out and have fun. One of the biggest male influencers who I actually like a lot, I actually think he's fucking dope, but he literally has now taken to saying that women are just prostitutes. Like, he's like, there's no such thing as like social skills to help you with women. They're just all prostitutes and it's just money. And he's literally now just promoting this. And I bet you he believes it. Meanwhile, he's one of the most charismatic guys. He's incredibly charismatic. I mean, probably a little more charismatic than I am, if I'm being honest with you. Very charismatic, actually has great control over his own energy, but somehow he's got it in his head that you have to be this like rich millionaire. Now, here's another thing that I want to point out to you. And Eddie, this goes back to what I was talking to you about. What he did on some level was he achieved a certain benchmark and then attached his confidence to that benchmark, okay? Do you see what's happening there? So he attached that, look, I'm gonna just say who it is, but I wanna say that I think he's got a lot of great content. Basically, it's Andrew, okay? So he has great content. He's been dogpiled, guys. I don't wanna jump on a guy, he's been dogpiled to shit and actually powered through it. I really admire that. So I'm not trying to jump on a guy who's been dogpiled. I think he's adding like lots of great advice, like he's really funny. I watch, anything comes up, I fucking laugh. I think it's fucking great. But it's okay to have a different opinion about things sometimes. Okay, you don't have to agree with everything somebody says. And something I happen to have a different opinion is no, not everyone's a prostitute. Okay, like I'm sort of tell you. In fact, I would actually go the opposite direction. Here's what I think Andrew doesn't think about. Watch the movie Napoleon. What's the main lesson in the movie? I want to be clear. I think he teaches hilarious, awesome stuff. I think he's got a lot of charisma. I'm not dogpiling him. That guy's been dogpiled by governments. Like, he's been through hell and back, right? The mere fact that people do dogpile him shows how strong he is, because you wouldn't kick someone when they're down, right? So the fact that he's down that bad and people still dogpiles him shows how strong he actually is. That people are like, fuck that guy, I didn't like that he said this. It's like, you know how bad he's been dogpiled, right? So it shows he's a very strong guy. He's probably like just a natural fighter psychologically, just like has the psychology of a fighter. He's a pretty amazing guy. I'm coming from the frame that I think the things they said about him are bullshit. Maybe it would turn out to be true. I think what was said about him was bullshit personally, just knowing what I know. Maybe it was true, in which case he would be a piece of shit, but I think that it's bullshit, okay? I'm about 99% sure that what they did to him was a fucking farce. That's my personal opinion, okay? But who knows? I don't know. I'm not a psychic. I don't know everything. But what I'm getting at, though, is, okay, so Andrew says, every woman is a prostitute. They just go for money. Now, if a guy's not successful, is he going to resonate with that?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Let's say that you're lonely as fuck. And then you're told, no, the reason why you can't meet someone is because they're all hookers. How quickly is that going to resonate?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very confident.
Yes, correct. But let me give you a couple movie examples that you might resonate with, and then some real life examples, okay? Movie examples, but again, they're just movies, but you'll resonate because you know it's real life as well. Movie examples would be like, the best one I've seen is Napoleon, okay? So Napoleon literally controls the entire world, most successful guy ever, okay, richer for his day than anyone now. And yet, what's his wife doing?
Cheating on him. With some nobody, actually.
With some fucking nobody.
Compared to him.
Yeah. And what and what they do too is they really fucking clown him bad in that movie. I mean, it's really fucking, the joke was like this was clearly made by a British guy because they clown him so bad. Is Ridley Scott British? I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, I think he's probably British. Can someone check that? Well, the joke was that it was like a British attack, like you know how like British and French have like a rivalry. It's basically a whole fucking like 3-hour thing clowning Napoleon. But the point is that the way he's fucking her like a rabbit, like this robotic rabbit, right? He's just like basically there'll be this like seductive guy that she's sleeping with.
He's British.
Yeah. So it's like this like, and he's a knight, right? So he's still like rivalry with these guys. So what happens is basically, why do they show him like this? Basically, what'll happen is when she's having sex with a guy that she likes, he's really like rhythmic and seductive, and then when he's fucking her, he's like this rat. He just goes like that, right? So why did they show that on purpose? What was the thing they're trying to show?
He's got no swag.
No swag, right? So basically he's completely in his control muscle, trying to fucking control everything, but he has no swagger, right? And she's cheating on him actively. Another one would be, what are some other examples of, Marty Supreme, right? Classic. So basically Mr. Wonderful, who killed that role, by the way, my God, he killed that role. His wife, who he's, spent all this money on, is fucking Marty Supreme, this fucking like retarded ping pong player. And he's also impregnated some other dude's wife too. Right? So again, Marty Supreme is also like the ultimate fuckboy movie, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they place Timothée Chalamet as this ultimate fuckboy. Also, Timothée Chalamet is probably one of those popular guys in the world right now, and you'll see him and you'll think he's super good looking. Is Timothée Chalamet actually that good looking? The way that guys think like a good looking guy is? Every guy is good looking. We're all good looking. I'm not saying he's a bad looking guy, but is he really like the epitome of male genetics, like Timothée Chalamet? Like male genetic excellence, it's not what guys think that a girl would be into, right? He's just some little guy. I think he's got like good cheekbones, basically. And he's got a lot of social proof. But they frame him as this ultimate fuckboy, and women love Timothée Chalamet because they frame him as this fuckboy, okay? So then, basically, in real life, here's the reality. You go out, there's always some rich guy who got a table, and then the girls go to his table. None of them fuck that guy. And then, except maybe like an actual prostitute. By the way, some actual prostitutes will see that guy and they will go fuck him. They go, oh, he's got a table, and they'll actually go have sex with him. But he'll still pay $1,000 the next day. In other words, he could have met her on the street. He didn't even need the fucking table, okay? And then from there, fun, cool guys that the girls like, the girls will take his alcohol and pass it to the guys they like. I don't drink, but when I've got a good amount of swagger in a given night, the girls are grabbing those guys' drinks, calling him creepy, and passing it to me. It's every time that I go out. It's constant. So how do women perceive a guy using money to get attraction? What do they perceive?
It's creepy.
Creepy, supplementing it, compensating. This is real. Okay? And the fact that the main way that guys are now viewing attraction is through a lens of like, yeah, just get money. Like you know what they'll say, ignore women, go make your money, and they'll be waiting there at the end. And that's fucking bullshit. That is absolute fucking bullshit. That's not gonna be the version of her that you want. Okay? She will have spent her life dating the guys that she's actually attracted to, and maybe at the end of that ride, she'll go for a more conservative, stable guy. Is that really what you're looking for? And then what is going to happen when she's just bored of you and the fucking pool boy goes by? There's a stereotype of the pool boy fucking your wife for a reason. That's a real stereotype. There's a reason why that's a stereotype. So ideally, you learn how to make money, but also have the swag of the pool boy. Now, why is the pool boy a pool boy? That's another question. You should understand this. Why is the pool boy a pool boy? It's not a coincidence that the pool boy is a pool boy.
He has very little ambition.
Why does he have little ambition?
Because he gets laid.
Because he gets laid. Okay? That's why he's the pool boy. What's that? He's not as motivated, right? So that's also why I tell guys, I'm like, stop saying that it's about money, because what's going to happen is you're going to go get a bunch of money. You're going to realize it makes no difference, and you're going to go broke later because it's going to unmotivate you. You should make money for your own reasons, not because you're doing it to please a woman, okay? So that's what I was saying to you, Eddie, is like, you've got to find confidence within yourself. You got to find that pool boy confidence, bro. It's just swag confidence. Like, it's not based on anything. It's not logical. There's no reason for it. It's just there because it's there. There's not a reason for it. My advice to you guys, look, I teach money making. We're going to cover money making today. But my advice to you is make as much money as you can for you. But don't use that as a driver for attraction. Okay? It's not a driver for attraction. So you're going to see that in any way, shape, or form, trying to control outcomes by using things like money is only moving you backwards. What is the essence of swagger? Is it control or is it release?
It's release.
Okay, so when Napoleon's going like that, why is he what is that signifying to the audience?
He's in control.
He's a control freak, right? He's such a deep control freak that he felt this need to take over half the freaking planet, go kill a gazillion people to take it over, and then basically he can't even enjoy sex, and now he's getting cheated on. And that's literally what women will do, okay? The movie The Fountain with Hugh Jackman shows this, where Hugh Jackman is trying to save his wife's life, and his wife is actually not afraid to die because she is more spiritually attuned. She's like a spiritual oracle who understands that life will go on, and so she's in release while she's dying. He is in control. He cannot allow her body to die because he feels like this life is all that we have. Then at the end of the movie, I won't ruin it for you if you haven't seen it, but at the end of the movie, what Hugh Jackman discovers is he literally crosses the entire galaxy in order to find out the secret of eternal life. And the secret of eternal life is that we all live forever through that life force that animates all of us, and that we don't need to control everything. And so basically at the end of it, there's this comedic thing that he turns into that just shows that like, it was all stupid. Like he basically went to the end of the earth trying to control outcomes, and then just realized at the end, like, no, like you can let go. Like that was the ultimate lesson of the movie, was to let go. So his wife, who was dying, was trying to show him how to let go. So if you're in a relationship and like, you can't let go with your wife or with your girlfriend, and you can't actually just be free, eventually you're going to get cheated on. It's almost inevitable. Her instincts are so against that control shit that she will actively cheat on you in many cases just because you can't do it. Because you are defiling her spiritually on such a deep level that she will literally have to do that to you. And now I know that sounds like making an excuse for cheating. I know that the control part of your brain's like, no, that's an excuse for cheating. Let me ask you a question. If your wife or girlfriend, your life partner, would never, ever, ever fuck you, never, would you feel it's justified at some point to go get it somewhere else? She would never do it. She just would never do it. And she could choose to anytime she wants, but never does it. Look, I feel that way after about 3 hours. So the point is that, so if you're literally not able to engage with her spiritually at all, there's gonna be something powerfully resonant at the core of who she actually is that will create a deeply rooted resentment that will turn her off, that will sicken her. And what will happen is other men who have never gave her a ring, never spent a penny on her, didn't invest in her, didn't let them live in their crib, didn't go to get married to her and risk all their finances, but those guys know how to let go and have fun. She will, in many cases, go have sex with that guy who invested fucking nothing. Okay? And that will actually happen. So when you think about advice like, women are all prostitutes, all they care about is money, that is advice that's gonna get you cheated on very quick, okay? And I've been cheated on, and it can happen to the best of us. But I'm just making the point that like that'll happen real quick. Quick question, yep.
What's the difference between controlling and dominating?
So basically, what I would just say is this: leading from a space of release is actually a good thing. Leading from a space of control is a bad thing. What is release versus control? When you guys see me doing public speaking, the way that I'm able to run a big event, the way that I'm running it, is from a space of release. So in other words, all that I'm doing when I'm talking to you guys is thinking, just let go. That's all that's in my head, nothing else. Nothing else is in my head at all, but just let go. That's it, nothing else. There's literally nothing in my head.
Can you do that because you prepared?
No, I was able to do this from the moment I learned to just let go. Yeah, no, let me be clear. There's a set amount of things that you know in life. So I wouldn't come up to a badminton seminar and fake that I'm an expert at badminton if I didn't know it and just let go. My version of just letting go would be, I don't know shit about badminton. But if I know an area and I have knowledge in my head, the knowledge is there contained within my brain, and I get up in front of a crowd and I say, just let go, I will be potentially the best public speaker, not just alive today, but ever. That's literally what happens when you just let go. Okay? And if I go out and I just let go, I will also get the craziest result you've ever seen. And guys that are sitting there smoking a cigar at a table get punked so bad, bro. Okay? They get ganked for their girl like that. It's quick, bro. It's fast. It's furious. It's a tsunami. Nothing's stopping it. And you do not want to be that guy if you're having kids with somebody, et cetera, et cetera. And it can, look, I'm not saying it couldn't happen to me. Don't try to think you're too cool. That problem can happen to anybody, okay? Because you fuck up, right? It's like Kobe Bryant was a great basketball player. He's out off shooting nights. Yep.
Is this actually the same thing as vulnerability, or would you say?
No, it is and it isn't, okay? So vulnerability, which she talked about, is both powerful but also a trap depending on how you interpret it, okay? So words like vulnerability or authenticity are both the most powerful words, but also entrapping words. They could help you or they could ruin you, okay? So words like authenticity, that can be within the sphere of letting go that we're talking about here, or it could be a fucking loser, fucking degenerate idiot who just thinks that because he's being himself that he can sit there like a lump of shit. So it depends where you're coming from with authenticity, okay? Vulnerability, look, if a guy's always uptight all the time, he's like, yeah, like I'm the fucking man, I'm so cool, I'm so fucking cool, I'm the man, like all that kind of shit, he's like that all the time, what does that look like? Does that look high status? That looks try hard, right? So vulnerability is when you're saying, no, I'm powerful enough that I can be who I am. If I'm saying to you guys, I've been cheated on, that actually increases my power because I'm saying it with confidence, with conviction. I'm not wounded by it. I mean, maybe I am, who knows? But the point is like, you know, I'm mostly not wounded by it. So what I'm showing you guys is like, yeah, vulnerability from a certain space is powerful because it actually makes you more powerful, right? If Eminem comes in and he's like the best rapper alive at that time, and then he has a song about his daughter, that only enhances his power. If the whole album is him crying about his daughter, that's not selling anything, right? So remember, as she said, she got a guy who probably isn't vulnerable with anybody else to be vulnerable with her. So that was like a peak experience. But that doesn't mean that that guy's running around crying on everybody and he thinks he's being authentic and vulnerable. So it's an entrapping word potentially. But what we're talking about here is that letting go, okay, where it's coming from, this way that I teach you guys public speaking or the way that I teach you guys social skills, any of that stuff, this idea of letting go actually is a spiritual practice. So it is literally removing the separation from me to you. I am removing the separation from me to you. Which, now, what happens when there's separation between me and you? What's going on?
Ego.
Ego. So, okay, ego, bad. Ego, bad. But why?
Control, because you're harboring the...
Okay, so I'm controlling, but I mean, an argument could be made...
The power over there, it's not all flowing and distribution.
Yeah, so it's not flowing, but the funny thing is, it's less power. It's not even as good power. So where is my mental bandwidth going if I'm trying to impress you? Or if I'm trying to be better than you? Or if I'm trying to preserve frame all the time? Where is my power going? Where's my mental focus and my brain's unconscious processing power? Where's it going?
It's going inward. It's like selfish.
It's going inward and selfish. So is that increasing my capacity to project my voice, to be fluid, to crack jokes, to be in the moment, to crack stories, and to stitch together a whole seminar right out the gate?
No, because your bandwidth is occupied.
The mental bandwidth is, say the word bandwidth. Bandwidth is usurped and monopolized. Got it, okay? So there's only so much bandwidth. So when you just let go and you're just open and you just let it go, then what happens is that your brain will actually follow this. Your brain will literally create the seminar for you. Okay, it makes it for you. So I can do up to 16-hour, even 20-hour-a-day seminars indefinitely. My brain will simply make the seminar for me. This means that if I want to do a digital product that's 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours, I can literally turn on a camera and have that generate within 2 days. With no prep.
Because you have the content, which the principle is...
But the content would mean I'm trying to control. That's the word. No, the right word would be experience. I have the life experience. So yes, so would I do that would I make a badminton product out of 30 hours? No, I have no badminton product. But in the area where I have dedicated time, then I can just release. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm tapping into Akashic records here, okay, where it's like all the knowledge of the combined universe. Although, interestingly, there is an argument to be made for that because a lot of genius does seem to come from the ether. But what I would say is that, like, no, I'm not able to start speaking Japanese, okay? But what I would say is that in an area that you know a lot about, you'll just simply start self-organizing the seminar, and going out and socializing you naturally have because you don't need to learn the perfect thing to say when you go out. So you actually naturally do have that. So with socializing, actually you are an expert going into it for the most part. You just don't know that you are, okay? But I'll circle back to that. So basically what happens is that when you're in a release muscle, a couple things happen. Number one would be you don't run out of things to say, okay? So you don't need a routine to go talk to somebody. You don't run out of things to say. Another thing is that your voice has a lot of power to it, okay? So your voice will boom. You guys have heard how loud my voice can get when I decide to use it? Okay, so I'm not using it here, right? But the point is to go crazy loud, so your voice opens up. So people will say to me, well, do you take vocal training? Like, what's the vocal training that you take to be able to project your voice like that? It's just releasing, that's it. You just release, there's nothing else. It's just release. It's nothing else. Your voice will open up. When a guy can't project, it tells me that his voice is clogged up because he's trying to control. So what happens is that he's trying to control, so that's locking him up, okay? So and then what he does is that he tries to use power to power over it. That's like Napoleon going, right? Because his release is so clogged down that he has to be, right? He's trying to overpower the contraction. Say the word, he's trying to overpower the contraction.
Trying to overpower the contraction.
Yeah, right? So that's what's happening. So have you guys ever had it where you go out and you feel like you don't want to go say hi to anybody? So what happens is that you have to overpower the contraction, but it sucks. But eventually you just let go, and then all of a sudden you're approaching very fluidly. Yeah. Okay? So that's what the release muscle means, okay? Now, I'll also tell you this. When you're in a state of control, usually you won't be as effective. That's bad. But even worse is if it works. I know men where they come from a control paradigm and it works. That's even fucking worse, okay? The worst thing that can happen to you is when you're in a control paradigm and it works, okay? Now, I'm gonna point your attention to something, and this is a nuance, but if you look at it, it's very powerful. You will learn to read, what is it? Louder, and on topic, has to be on topic.
I have a question about the control that you say about the approach, like when you release, like you can talk to everybody. Can you expand on that? Because that's like
basically when I go out, I just shut my brain off and I'll talk to everybody there, and about 80-90% go 10 out of 10. And it's just the people that are super hyper negative and super weird that you can't talk to in most cases. So I just don't, like, I don't do anything. Do you understand? I haven't worked in years. I don't have to approach. I don't have to think. I literally don't have to do anything. It just does it for me. Okay? I don't work. I don't stress. I've been sick in a decade and a half. Like, I don't stress or work. I don't do anything. I just don't do anything.
How do you get to the point to be able to release an approach?
Spiritual growth.
What is that?
Spiritual growth.
What does that mean?
The entry points for a lot of spiritual growth for people could be Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, but it's a very, very deep rabbit hole. But basically, Eckhart Tolle is pretty much the most effective communicator of this generation in having how to achieve that. Okay?
But I read the book, but still, like, I have that.
Yeah, but it's just like how guys come to my seminars. I tell them to use their voice and they're quiet, right? So I reread the book over 100 times. Why? Because, and then I went to all the seminars. Why did I do that? Because I knew that I didn't have it down. So I actually did it until I had aptitude with it. Okay? So I'm probably exaggerating to some extent. I don't want to imply that, like, I never do anything, but it's like 100x gap compared to the average guy.
Is it something that meditation and self-awareness contribute?
Yes, but the thing is that I also get afraid to recommend meditation because I find that look, here's the problem. Like, you get guys to study meditation, go on spiritual growth, and then they drink the Kool-Aid. So the problem is if you become a Kool-Aid drinker, that shit will fuck you up, okay? A Kool-Aid drinker means that spiritual teacher has every bias on the planet to tell you that money doesn't matter and nothing matters, and just to come suck his dick at his ashram, okay? You should, no, this is important. You should quit your job and suck his dick at an ashram. Do his laundry, contribute to his funds, and someday, after sucking his dick at an ashram for fucking 50 years, you'll become enlightened. So he has a very selfish bias to tell you that nothing matters but spirituality because this is all fake, and it doesn't matter if you have money, it doesn't matter if your kids grow up poor, and it doesn't matter if India is in extreme poverty, and nothing of it fucking matters because everything is shit, and it's all just fucking fake, and it's all Maya, and fuck reality, and fuck this world, and just meditate and suck my dick. And that's what they're doing. So the problem is that if you give guys spiritual texts, if they drink the Kool-Aid and don't just take the value, they eventually go, they go, I could sit here learning about how to make a sales ad, but that's boring. I don't want to make a sales ad. Oh, look, I could go to the gym, work on my fitness, but that's boring. I don't want to do that. Oh, look, I could get better with girls, but that's hard and scary. I don't want to do that. And you know what I realized? That's all Maya. Learning how to talk to a woman is Maya. Learning how to make money is Maya. It's just, it has no longevity. So I'm just gonna drink the Kool-Aid because it's easier. And then I meet these guys and I look them in the eye and I'm like, and I'm not trying to make it a competition because that's ego-based and I know that, but there is an objective reality that some people are more spiritually developed than others. And I met many people more spiritually developed than me, and you know who they were? Entrepreneurs. There's many people more spiritually developed than me, and they're millionaires. And that doesn't mean that every entrepreneur is spiritually developed by any means. And you know who the people that I met that were consistently less spiritually developed than me? Kool-Aid drinking spiritual people.
So can I clarify what I mean?
Go for it.
I'm talking about meditation
Yes.
specific, that when you do it and experience it and you really doing it and you observe,
Yep.
you become less reactive, right? So you can be
Yes.
in a situation, but in the same time you don't react. You become, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so what about it?
So the effect, is that what you're talking about when you're talking about when you are in the zone?
What I would say, okay, so the problem with a lot of spirituality is it's too passive. It's a philosophy of being passive. My spirituality is a philosophy that rather than viewing presence as the pinnacle, I view presence as the base of the mountain. Presence is just the entry fee, okay? Like you're in a state of release and present, that's where you get to climb the next mountain. Okay? So in other words, like I don't like your first million, that's not the pinnacle. That's just you able to pay your bills. So that, okay, your first million, that's not the goal. Your first million means that for about 3 years in a major city, not even living that well, you're able to not have to work a shitty job, maybe attend some seminars, maybe read some books, and because you don't have a job, you can actually work on your business all day. A million is not the pinnacle. A million is the start to actually a decent life. Okay, learning how to get control of your health is not the pinnacle. That's the start so you can actually go live. Being spiritually enlightened, so to speak, is not the pinnacle. That's the start. That's the baseline. So I think they're aiming too low. And then the problem is that you see a lot of people that are spiritual, they get so fucking passive. I can't tell you how many guys have been in my trainings that cannot talk to a woman, that are so spiritual. They're so fucking spiritual. They can't write a sales ad. They can't talk to a woman. So what are you at the end of the day, bro? Okay, so you're present to the moment. Cool, bro. Bravo, bro. Winning, bro. But your life still sucks. Life is actually meant to be, and I don't do ayahuasca, but life is meant to function as a sober ayahuasca. You are on an ayahuasca trip literally right now, okay? I am the weird creature in the, okay? I am the machine elf, okay? Okay? I am the machine elf. I am the mother ayahuasca in this moment, okay? Yeah, now you get it, okay? I'm the fucking machine elf, okay? The world has its own machine elves. So, the world has that. You just gotta go find them, okay? You know, like the trippy tracers you see if you took mushrooms or something like that? Again, I don't do it. Go to the Redwood Forest. Go to, you guys are near Acadia National Park. Go to Acadia National Park in fall at all the red leaves and the fucking rolling hills and climb up the Beehive Trail, okay? And now you're on shrooms, okay? You don't need to take shrooms. The Beehive Trail is the shrooms. So all those different things, you get that while sober. So release muscle basically just means that you're no longer in your own way. So you're operating without effort, which basically makes you what most people think is superhuman, but what I think is just called fucking normal. Okay, so in our society is so fucked up that you look superhuman when you have this to other people. But in reality, it's just base level consciousness that we probably would have had in the caveman days. It's basically just re-accessing base consciousness that you would have had back when you were hunting a woolly mammoth. But a lot of guys that are spiritual, they become too passive.
I don't talk about the same thing, but I mean like, so for example, I was a day trader, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you are very reactive, you make a lot of mistakes and you emotionally get attached to things. You can lose your money just because you have the logic, but you attach to the emotion.
Yeah, so in other words, you're not in your zone of genius.
So when you become less reactive, you're starting to become better because you're not attached to
Yep.
the result. You can view the process and focus on just doing things right.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I
100%. Yeah, 1,000%. I love what you said.
But is that what you mean when you let go?
Yeah, but this is at a base level existence, moment to moment, where you're barely thinking at all. I'm not thinking when I'm up here. I'm literally barely. I'm thinking about
How'd you get there? Like
spiritual power now, Eckhart Tolle. I'm not trying to blow off your question. It's literally power now, Eckhart Tolle. Like people make it way too complicated. Like I tell people, I'm just like, they're like, how do you do this? Like I'm like, read the power now. Like it can't just be read the power now. I'm like, yeah, it is. Read the power now. Like if you want to know how to do the things that I do out at the club, take a boot camp. Like it can't just be a boot camp. Like Yeah, it can. Take the boot camp. Like it does what it's advertised to do, right? Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power Now, does what it's advertised to do if you read it and you implement it. So that's why obviously not any book can be just a magic pill, but if you reread it and then you maybe watch his videos on YouTube or go to his seminars, then you internalize it. I've seen Eckhart at the Omega Institute. I've seen him in Malibu. I've seen him in Maui. So I just continue to learn from him. But I didn't just stop with Eckhart. I think that the Bible, the 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, deepen it. People don't understand the metaphors in there. I think the Tao Te Ching. I listen to Tao Te Ching like when I'm in the gym, bro. You know what I'm saying, right? So like a Tao Te Ching. There's so many deep esoteric spiritual texts. The Kabbalion is very powerful. There's many spiritual texts. So you can choose to see that as the underlying meta layer of reality. But the thing is, again, there's a really big issue with pushing this on guys because they become Kool-Aid drinkers, right? Like they're not actually enlightened. They're just in the next groupthink pocket. It's like how a hipster is almost so vile to look at in some ways. Like, I do like hipsters, right? But they're like, I'm so not in the groupthink, right? Like, I'm so not one of those NPCs, but they're literally just another NPC. A hipster makes an entire identity about what they oppose, not what they're moving towards. It's about what they oppose, right? Like, I'm not one of those like yuppie, I'm not one of those yuppie, trendy guys. I'm the non-trendy guy. So I drive a fixed gear bicycle. And what are those cigarettes they smoke? There's like a cigarette they smoke. Anyone know?
Parliament.
Yeah, I smoke Parliament cigarettes. I dress in vintage clothing. I have a mustache. I know both you guys have pretty glorious mustaches, But I'm ironic. Like everything's ironic.
Identity than the other guy.
Yeah, it's based against what they're against, right? So spiritual people do this, right? They're like, I'm not one of those, thank you so much, bro. I'm not one of those annoying millionaires. I'm spiritual. It's all Maya. But let me tell you, do you want to know what happens to these guys? Look, it's the same reason why I tell women, you do not want guys to not learn social skills. Okay, because a lot of women will say, I don't want him to learn social skills. Do you think that guy who never learns social skills is just going to go away he's just going to vanish from your field of reality? No, he's going to go into a corner and metastasize, okay? You don't want that guy stuck there, okay? Because men have a desire for connection, right? So can you just tell guys to ignore that desire for connection, or do you have to actually help them in a healthy way to process that desire for connection? Is that guy who desires connection just going to randomly go away and not exist if you don't teach him how to connect? No, what's he going to do? Some fucked up shit. Okay? So what do you think? So because the impulse to connect is there, you can't just have them go away from your field of awareness. If you take a spiritual person and they don't learn how to make money, what do you think they probably are going to do?
Become sociopathic and leech off of people.
I find they steal.
Steal.
They're really big into stealing. The spiritual community is really big on theft. Huge. Some of the biggest little fucking cunty, like criminal scum you've ever seen. The spiritual woo people. Super, super duper criminals.
Aren't they really using meditation in that passive sense to, when they fail, they're
but even deeper, like if I had a granola bar on the desk and I can't find it and I want it back, I'm just looking for the most woo spiritual person in the room. They probably have it.
What's yours is theirs, the world is theirs.
That, but also they have suppressed it, and because they suppress it, that impulse to have resources, you can attempt to suppress it by saying, it's all Maya, it's all Maya. Eventually it explodes out, they rip each other off because they're not in control of it, okay? So those little funny impulses that you have in your head, they're there for a reason. You have to have control of it. You know how we say don't have comparison with other people, be in your own lane? That's not true. That's a half-truth, that we shouldn't compare ourselves to other people and be in our lane. We wouldn't have the impulse of comparison if there wasn't some function. It's not just ego. What would be an example of how the function of comparison should help you? Hierarchy, pattern recognition. Well, if I tell you guys, hey, look, watch me go out, watch me public speak, watch how I do it, watch how much money I make. If that makes you envious or frustrated, is that bad? No, I'm actually actively trying to generate frustration and envy in you so that you can actually be inspired or motivated. So the question is, are you inspired by that comparison and then your brain starts looking for tools and paths on how to get there, or are you a hater and you start becoming a hater? I mean, you can see people even in my industry who just never get past a couple $1 million a year, and they just make hater videos all day. You ever seen that in my industry? Yeah. Guys that literally, they never make a ton of money, so how do they channel that wish that they could make money the way that I did? Hate. With making hater videos. And stealing. Theft. Yeah, hijacking the content, which, by the way, most of those guys even that did that are literally teaching 80% of my content. It's literally 80, 90% my content. They put a little twist on it. They go, no, Owen is wrong about this one twist. Teach it, and then they do hater stuff. That is because that comparison instinct is putting them in a toxic version instead of the healthy and awesome version. When I see Tony Robbins running a giant seminar stadium, me and my buddy Marcel Klein will go watch Tony, and we see him running a giant seminar. We're not there hating on Tony. We're like, yo, this is possible that you could fill a mega seminar? We should go do this. This is fucking cool. Okay, you know, we see a guy with a supercar. Well, I want to have a supercar. You know, you see a guy who's maybe not that classically good looking dating an amazing woman. Well, I want to date an amazing woman. So it actually is healthy if you're willing to take the steps. But if somebody doesn't see a lane there and they don't think they could do it, that manifests as cancer. Okay, so in spirituality, you can become very, very spiritual. That's great, but do not use that and to channel the money-making instinct. Use that to channel your instinct to connect with people, and then use that as a tool to help channel it in a healthy direction and in a very powerful direction that's very effective and powerful. And then what will happen is that while you're not trying to control it, you actually do better anyway. It's the paradox that what you release, you actually do control. Okay? So for example, if you want your girlfriend fucking obsessed with you, don't check her phone. Right? Do you want your girlfriend obsessed with you? Let her talk to guys. Most women that I date go psycho, okay? Psycho, okay? Obsessed, crazy, psycho. It's the funniest thing. And most women I date are pretty up there. And so it's hilarious. Like I look like a fucking leprechaun, and you see some goddess like literally like crying, blowing up my phone. How do I get more? Like they go for attention like a crack addict. And yet, do I check their phone? It's like a crack fiend. Do I check their phone? Am I like, you better not have any guy friends? My ex-girlfriend used to be a server for Leo DiCaprio, for real, and other celebrities at poker games. Did I care that she was serving Leo? I was like, oh my God. No, I didn't care. Now, why is that? Because if you don't care, what does that do?
It shows you have very high S&D, and it feels a larger differential
yeah.
between the two of you, and is attracted to
yeah.
avoid.
Like, I'm really sure that my angry, controlling text messages are going to help. Right? Like, you're not allowed, if Leo shows up at your work, you're not allowed to talk to him, you know.
I mean, it doesn't give her the idea either.
What's that?
It doesn't give her the idea either.
Yes.
So if you go against it, it becomes real in her mind, so she can fight against it.
Yeah, but let's even take it a level deeper. Have I walked up to Leo DiCaprio's tables at clubs like One Oak, and these girls are not his girlfriend, but have I walked up to tables at clubs like One Oak, where Leo was, and left with girls that he was talking to?
Yeah,
I have. So, that being the case, again, it's the lack of control. If I see Leo, do I view him as better than me?
No.
No, that's what I was telling you. You shouldn't view him as better than you, but you don't compare yourself to somebody else, okay? Don't compare yourself to somebody else. What you do is you stop comparing, go into the release muscle, and ironically, that guy who has more than you will actually have less power than you, and you wind up bodying him. This is a real problem when I go out, okay? Like, you guys will see me when I go out. There's so many girls that are with their boyfriends that are jumping on me. It's nonstop. It's literally nonstop. And these guys are taller, better looking, richer, often more charismatic, all sorts of stuff. And it's like this ongoing like problem that I have when I go out. Dudes getting super fucking pissed. This is nonstop, it's ongoing, and when I'm saying this, there's thousands of people that have seen me do it. I've got piles of video footage about it. You guys have seen videos of it. It's nonstop. So can you imagine how dumb it looks to me when you see somebody who's like, you've got to have like all women are prostitutes, and you've got to have fucking all the money, and like it's not real that you could have social skills, and they're just superficial. It's just about your looks and all that kind of shit. No, what those guys are doing is they are not willing to let go until they reach a certain benchmark. Bypass that. Here's what you do. Option A, I need to do plastic surgery, looks maxing, have a Bugatti, have $1 billion, And again, I like these guys, okay? Look, they could say that I've got a pot belly, and they'd be right as well. Hey, I love Owen, but that guy should get rid of his pot belly. I was in a wheelchair for half a year. I got a little fat, but no excuses, right? So the point that I'm saying is I'm not above criticism either. It doesn't mean that what I teach isn't cool, but there would be flaws in my teaching. So these are guys that I like, that I think are dope. I'd like to collab with. I think they're great, but there's a flaw in the teaching. And I tell them this when I see them. So, for example, I love Rollo to death, but I keep telling Rollo, I'm like, dude, that hypergamy thing, men also have that. I love fucking Rollo, man. I love Rollo. But I will tell, every time I see Rollo, I'm like, yo, Rollo, I'm like, bro, that's not just women, bro. Like, guys have hypergamy around money, and they cheat on each other and fuck each other over surrounding money. Like, Rollo's poem, Hypergamy Doesn't Care? Hypergamy Doesn't Care? You could make a male hypergamy version surrounding money and fucking each other over in business. So men also do that too. So, Jesus says, don't judge the chip in your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own eye. Don't just judge women. Oh, hypergamy. That's the flaw in the teaching. Because when you guys read that stuff, does it just make you kind of mad? It probably does. Well, that's a problem. It instigates frustration. That's a flaw in the teaching. I have flaws in my teaching. Every teacher has flaws in their teaching. I like Andrew. I like Clav. But I think what they teach is fucking hilarious. But there is a flaw in the teaching. What are they teaching guys to do? Is the average guy going to actually go get a Bugatti? Is the average guy actually going to go do plastic surgery? No. Okay, so if that's the case, now, do you guys think that they're dealing with their clients in person a lot? No. Like, are they doing in-person trainings where they meet the client? Are they doing non-stop free events where they go meet people for free 2 weekends to 4 weekends a month, put on free events, and then take them out and see what's happening? Or are they kind of in their own bubble? Okay, how much time do you think they actually spend with clients, like in person going out?
0.
How many hours a year?
0.
I don't know. I don't know, but if I was guessing, I'd say less than 10. How many hours am I spending with clients per year?
10.
Every moment I have, basically, okay? I'm continuing with clients. So I'm understanding what different things produce different results for clients. What I found is the average client is not gonna go get $100 million in Bugatti. The average client I deal with is not gonna go get plastic surgery. I'm not saying that they haven't had clients who did. I bet you Andrew has had clients that got the Bugatti. I bet you Clav has got clients that did the surgery, and maybe it helped them, probably helped their online dating a shitload. I'm not good at online dating, so it probably helped that. But what I'm saying is I have seen over 100,000 clients. I've met well over 100,000 clients and work with them in person over 25 years. And I've seen many of them that go out that are short, funny looking, kind of losers that immediately start getting results if you get them in a state of release and they start having fun. Right away they get a girlfriend. Right away they wind up meeting someone who they connect with. Right away they start getting results. They get it instantly. So my point of view is not that it's bad to be better looking or to make more money, but what I'm saying is why not start getting results this weekend, feel good about yourself, and then don't become the spiritual woo-woo person who's like, oh, well, now that I get girls or now that I'm enlightened, then I just stop, but then take that, build on it, and make money. Because remember that as much as I'm saying I don't care about money, I'm wearing hundreds of thousands of dollars in fucking hardware right here. I live in a giant mansion. I've done over 100 million in sales. So obviously I care about money. I'm not saying not to care about money, guys, okay? I haven't been sick in 15 years. I'm obviously saying not that you shouldn't care about your body or your health. I'm just saying you don't need it, okay? You don't need to go doing a parasite cleanse is probably a really good thing to do. My friend Josh Mason teaches that. But do you need to do a parasite cleanse before you can go out to a bar tonight and meet a girl? But in a way, you might get you think about it, right? When I say it's like, maybe I should. I have parasites. Fuck, I should do a cleanse. I can't talk to a girl till I do a parasite cleanse, right? And you might feel that way. Think about if a guy sucks with girls, right? And then girls don't want to talk to him, and then they're told you're not rich enough, you're not good looking enough. Is that going to make sense? Yeah. But then if I come in here and I'm like, it's about this weird Eckhart Tolle spiritual thing, and the fucking guy in the movie The Fountain, he turned into a bunch of plants at the end because he couldn't let go, and he turned off his wife because he couldn't play with her in the snow while she's dying. That's actually what's happening. What sounds more credible? But the underlying reality, the real, okay? The real is that we're spiritual beings. The real is that our path of growth is not just growing in our ego or in our physical abilities, it's actually growing in our soul. And with that spiritual growth, we become the real version of manifestation, not the fake version, which is like, okay, I'm a girl, I like to smoke weed, and I like to do vapes, and then I got a parking spot. Like, yeah, I love weed and vapes, and I love, I actually love matcha, but anyway, and I love matcha, but I manifested a parking spot because God wanted me to manifest a parking spot. Not the fake manifestation, okay, but the real manifestation, which, by the way, you don't even know if you want a piece of that real manifestation, because that real manifestation, not the fake manifestation, what they don't tell you, what's the real manifestation? Is it all upside?
No.
What's the real manifestation?
I mean, it's a lot of responsibility.
The real manifestation is what's on your neck right there. What's on your neck?
The cross.
Yeah, he got killed. Okay? So the real what the Bible teaches you, what the story of Jesus teaches you, the real manifestation is, yes, he goes, he heals people, he creates miracles. The real manifestation is you will create miracles. But in the end, you also might get killed. You might get, do our heroes and our real, like, people that are ahead of their time, do they wind up like, you know, having like just an awesome life and everyone gives them their flowers? No, they get their flowers after they die, right? So the thing is that often you get persecuted, you get killed, you're ahead of your time, because what you're doing is you're bringing light on the parasitic level of consciousness, okay? Now, I can go a little bit deeper. I actually want to get back on what we had going on here, but I'll go, do you guys want me to go even just a little bit deeper on this if you want to understand a bit more?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the parasite that blocks from what we're talking about here. What is the parasite? The parasite is actually the false identity. The false identity, what it does is it runs autopilot thoughts in your brain and makes you believe that you're the thinker when you're not. Okay? So say this after me. Autopilot thoughts are running in my brain. I am hallucinating that I am the thinker. But I'm actually not. And it's holding who I am in stasis, in a slumber, so I won't fight back against the parasite. Yeah, so do you remember when I said that if you actually start getting, a lot of time the control muscle makes you just a victim, and then you just go into super victim identity. But the other thing it does to get you is it fucks you from the other side, right? It double penetrates you from the other side. And the other hole that it will double penetrate you is it makes you start winning, which then makes you start getting even more hooked on control. Eckhart Tolle will say, you can become enlightened in a private plane or in solitary confinement, but you're more likely to become enlightened in solitary confinement. The private plane will keep you asleep. So the success actually keeps you asleep. Okay, Jesus Christ on the cross, pain, that is his deepest, his most powerful win, because it fully takes him out of the physical, which he already was, but just took it that much deeper. So the idea there is that the rebirth, the death of the body, the death of the ego, and the rebirth of the soul is like a seed. When the seed becomes a tree, the seed dies in order to become what it really is. So you die, what you think of as you dies to become what you really are. But the very thing that makes you want to be enlightened is the parasite. So in your mind right now, you're going, I'd like to be enlightened, but it's not actually you, it's the parasite. So it's a trick that's keeping you asleep. Because the very thinker itself is the blockage. So as you're thinking it, that is the blockage.
It's the catch-22.
It's the catch-22 that you can't get past, okay? It's the prison. It's pretty fucked up.
Until you go to grace. And the principle is that work, but the end of the circuit's all grace, and you can't get there.
Yeah.
Is it like falling asleep that when you think about it, you just can't?
Yeah, it is that, but it's also that you're dead right now. Yeah, who you are is actually in a stasis right now.
That's it.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, huh? Who you are is being held asleep by a parasitic awareness reality overlay that is false. Okay, now let me show you how it works. Okay, but quick question, yeah.
Yeah, because I watched Blueprint Decoded, and I remember you said you don't even know where you are right now, and it fucked me up like pretty good. It was fucking wonderful.
Good, yeah. Yeah, that was a powerful teaching for my mid-20s. It was me coming into awareness. So, okay, so basically, you think that you're having the thoughts, but it's making you think that you're having the thoughts. How do we know that you're not having the thoughts? Because when you attempt to meditate, you can't stop the thoughts. If that is true, that when you attempt to still your mind, you can't still it, that literally means that that's not you thinking it. It's autopilot circuitry that's going. Now, how does this parasite function? How does it work? Here's how it works. So imagine that you're a heroin junkie. There's some resistance to getting the heroin, right? You've got to go cop it. You're probably broke, live in a cardboard box. So now you got to find $30, give a hand job to old man in a park, whatever you got to do. Get the heroin, you got to shoot it, you got to find a vein, probably a bunch of your veins are collapsed by now, life's falling apart, you shoot it, there's some resistance. What if the heroin junkie could just go, heroin, and they get high? What would happen? They're dead, okay? Then what would happen if the heroin junkie could just think the thought heroin and it would release heroin? What would happen then?
They would just always think. Like,
they go like this, heroin, 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 right? Now, do you guys know the word of say the word flywheel. This is the key little thing. What is a flywheel by definition?
Something that sustains its propulsion.
Self-reinforcing.
It's a self-reinforcing loop that the more that it runs, it actually gets faster based on how it's running, okay? So what happens is that flywheel starts to roll, and it would just go heroin like that. Could the person ever wake up? No. Well, so they literally just go heroin, and that's what's happening. That's actually what's happening to you in your life, just not with heroin. What would it take for that heroin junkie to come out of the heroin? What would it take for them to do it? Because it's holding them asleep.
A force greater than the force it's operating under presently.
What's that?
A force greater than
the force it's operating under presently.
knocked them out of that pattern.
What that is Jesus on the cross, okay? So in other words, it is a massive pain that creates what's called an opening. Say the word pain. Creates opening. Okay, so what do we say about a drug addict? How do we help them? What do they have to hit? Rock bottom, okay? Now, in life, and this is the point that Gabriel Monte says, he says that we clown on and hate on a junkie, but we don't realize that we're all junkies. So, in other words, our thoughts are a drug addiction, okay? The false self is the most addictive drug. I actually believe the hardest drug to quit is marijuana, above crack, above heroin, above anything. Because I know a lot of people that quit crack, I know a lot of people that quit heroin. I don't know almost anybody that quit smoking weed. Because it's fun, it's not that bad, it doesn't do a lot of damage, it has a lot of upside. The false self has a lot of upside, so it's basically limiting you, okay? So what happens is, all these different things in your life and your false sense of identity, how you relate with other people, how you compare to them, am I hot, am I cold, am I this, am I that, what do they think of me, do I have this, do I have status, am I as good as this girl, am I as good as this guy, all that shit is just a fucking addiction, okay? So in the Tao Te Ching, they talk about this. There's this kind of universal energy, and when you stop identifying in what they call the world of the 10,000 things, which basically just means the physical world, they call it the world 10,000 things, it's actually a lot more than 10,000, and then you identify with the Tao, that unkinks the hose and creates a shift in your consciousness, and that's actually how you're able to let go. So in other words, what you're doing is you're actually inviting that energy into yourself. But what's interesting is that you actually are that energy. So you actually are that energy. You don't know that you're that energy, so you're simply inviting that into yourself, and then you're speaking through that energy.
When you're at these last stages and you have this flurry and panic of these questions about how to do it, you don't realize you are literally sticking your ass in the aperture that would let you through if you stopped asking, how do I do it?
Yeah, so what they say there is, on the path to enlightenment, you have to see the Buddha's dead, rotting head on a pike. What does that mean? Like, because that's a vile image, right? What is that meant to communicate? That Buddha's dead, rotting head on a pike on your journey. Like you're on your path, and then like towards the end of the journey, you like look to the side and like it's Buddha right there, and he's fucking bleeding and he's dead. What does that mean?
Don't worship the idol.
Yeah, there's no idolatry anymore. You realize that is within you. Now, some people take that to say, I am God. I think that is one of the most toxic, evil things that a person can think. It leads to narcissism. Okay, so rather what it is that we have the capacity, the energy that animates you is the energy that animates me, and we have the capacity to tap into that. And so our physical being can refract that light in our unique way. That doesn't mean that when you forgot your wallet on the counter today that you're God. Okay? So that's where someone's getting fucked up, dude, okay? Sometimes psychedelics can cause people to think that. It's not taking them in a good direction at all. So when we're talking about release and what release means, what it means is that when you go out, let's put it in social circle context. When you go out, nobody's better or worse than you. You are not better or worse than anybody else, okay? We call that competitive frame versus collaborative frame. As a result of that, did you get that by suppressing the actual differences? Like, I don't know, some guys like 6'5", right? Did you get to that place by being like, 6'5", like, I'm as good as that. You're not better than me. Like, did you get there? Is that how you got there? No, you got there by transcending the entire thought architecture. So in other words, you're just in the flow. You're not thinking about it. You're not thinking about it at all. It's not even coming up for you. You're not in that world of comparison. So that's the problem, like the Looksmax and the Bugatti, you're still in the world of comparison. Now it's like, oh, well, yeah, but comparison is real. Some people have different results. Okay, cool. Awesome, bro. Some people have different results. But let me ask you a question. Tom Brady, is he the most skilled or athletic quarterback?
No.
Why did Tom Brady, we're in Boston, so we'll go with Tom Brady. Why did Tom Brady become not the most skilled, not the best quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes is more athletic. You've got Aaron Rodgers is probably more skilled. So why is Tom Brady not the most skilled, the most athletic, but why is he the greatest?
Because he transcends.
Because he's transcendent. That's it. So when he's in the Super Bowl and another quarterback is there saying, well, if I won, this would really help my life and I'd be better than Tom Brady. Brady just stays in the pocket, he just flows. And to the extent that he does that is the extent that he'll win or lose.
Wayne Gretzky.
A lot of the great athletes do it, okay? Yeah, these transcendent athletes. LeBron James, who's got a lot of ego to him, but in Game 7 against the Golden State Warriors, that would be an example of when he just got into flow. He was down 3-1 against the most winningest team in regular season history, which is the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson comes on, he says, we're better than the 1980s Lakers. We're going to win. Went into his ego. Bron just stayed in the flow, and they beat them. It was super crazy. The only way that they could stop LeBron after that was they had to get Kevin Durant to come to their team. So what I'm trying to show you guys is how, let's look at theory, let's look at practice. Theory. Well, some people are better than each other, Owen. Practice. I personally smoke all of them. Theory. Well, maybe the students should actually go get more money and work on themselves, right? You don't want to be delusional. Don't turn your students delusional. Practical reality. I take out some guy who's 5'2", and he winds up making out with a super hot model. So you can say in theory whatever you want, right? You can say whatever you want. Like, well, yeah, but you know this, but you know, but yeah, but you know. You can say that, but all that collapses when we go out to the club. All that collapses when we go to that party. All that collapses when we get on stage. It all collapses, right? So your little beliefs about this shit collapse under the brutal weight of objective reality. And objective reality is we don't even know why we're here, okay? We're on this fucking planet. We don't even know why we're here. You got a cell phone, right? Okay, is there a lot of, how much data can come through that cell phone?
5G.
Okay, like how much data, like how much information can we get off that cell phone? But you're just holding it in your hand. So where's the data? Where's the fucking data? Where's the data?
Everywhere.
Where's the data, guys?
In the cloud.
If your phone is able to get all that information, how come you can't visibly see the data? Why can't, there's all that data, there's a fuckload of data in this room. Why can't we see it? Where's the data? It's in the room, but where?
An electron package.
And some shit you can't see, okay? So what is the force that created the universe, and do human beings have a capacity to be an antenna for that and a broadcaster for that?
Absolutely, yeah.
We do. That's the power that we have. So as long as we deny that power, and then we go, we need plastic surgery, or we need a Bugatti, again, I like these guys, but as long as we deny that, we don't even know the purpose for why we're here. But let's even go a level deeper. In reality, while we're here, and I promise you this is why, I promise you, and this would take me another 50 hours to explain, so I'll just take my word I get at this point, but I promise you this is why. The actual purpose that you're here is not to just get your fucking ego glazed, okay? In fact, the reason why you're here is the opposite of that. The reason why you're here is to see the false reality and to see that it's fake so that you can return to the objective reality that looks like fucking woo-woo. And you want to know who makes it look like woo-woo? These fucking manifestors. Okay? Christianity has so much truth in it, but the average Christian who goes, Jesus is the way and the truth and the light, Jesus is the way and the truth and the light, Jesus is the way and the truth and the light, the average Christian makes it look like bullshit. Okay? So the people that follow most spirituality are such dipshits that you see it and you say, I don't want to be a girl with a matcha trying to manifest a parking spot. Okay? You see where that goes? But so that becomes this veil, this kind of fence of absurdity around the teaching. All the best teachings have a veil of absurdity around it. My stuff does too. If somebody looks me up, they will see so much bullshit about me because whenever you speak truth, there's going to be this veil of bullshit around it. And any truth that is real, like the real, is going to be extremely nuanced. And because it's nuanced, it's easy to misinterpret. But at the end of the day, when Napoleon's wife is getting, when the most powerful man in the world's wife is getting banged by a peasant, and we all know the pool boy stereotype is true, there's clearly something else going on that all women are hookers. So what I'm encouraging you guys to tap into here, as you're seeing the public speaking, as you're seeing the communication, as we talk to Eddie and we talk about, not being in his head and comparing himself, okay? As we talk about things like the buyer-seller dynamic and frame, what are some of the ways that Eddie would shut off that inner voice? Release. What are some of the ways that you would have control over the frame and not buy into a girl making you have to chase her, which actually turns her off? Inner fulfillment. And then just grounding some of this stuff, because I love to intertwine big picture stuff with day-to-day grounded stuff. How can a man then flip the frame so that he's the one with value? Well, what I say earlier, are you a vibe? Are you a snob, right? Okay? So how do you get the girl to shut off her ick mechanism? Beat her to the ick. Say that.
Beat her to the egg.
Okay, go ick first.
Go ick.
What that does is look, there's different, okay, this is very key. Say the word different compartments of the brain.
Different compartments of the brain.
Not communicating with each other.
Not communicating.
Okay, so for example, you could be talking to a girl who literally jumps on your lap, starts making out with you, and will start talking about her boyfriend and how awesome the relationship is as she's making out with you. What the fuck's going on there? Based on what I just said about the not talking to each other parts.
Compartmentalization.
Compartmentalization. Guys, I just said to you, the girl jumps on your lap, makes out with you, while telling you about how great her relationship is and meaning it. What's happening there?
The brain parts are talking to each other.
Yeah, the part of her brain that's attracted to you is getting her to jump on you, and then the part of her brain that loves her boyfriend is just randomly talking to you and telling you stories about her boyfriend. This will happen every night you go out. And you don't know if they're joking or not, so you're just like, right? That happens constantly, okay? So it's constant. So a guy who's really good with women is good at talking to the part of her brain that makes attraction, okay? Now, likewise, the part of her brain that determines the ick is a different part of the brain than the part of the brain that is self-qualifying. So say the word screening.
Screening.
Say screening part of the brain.
Screening part of the brain.
Ick part of the brain. Versus chasing part of the brain. Pedestalizing part of the brain. So what happens is, again, when Paddock's trick of the mind is you walk in and they look at you and they go, not good enough for the Nautilus. And your brain goes, I've got to be good enough for the Nautilus. How do I get it? How many watches do I have to buy? They get you super invested. Then once you're super invested, you value what you have. When women do what they do, what are they trying to provoke in the guy? When women have that thing that gets guys to chase, what are they trying to provoke in him? Starts with an I.
Insecurity?
Maybe. What's that?
His investment.
Say the word investment. So because if a girl just fucks a dude and he's not invested, what's he gonna do?
Just leave her.
He's gonna walk, right? So instead, she has to provoke a high degree of investment to get him to stay there. If Paddock gets you to buy the Calatrava and the regular watches, the watches that aren't that interesting, by the time you get the Nautilus, are you gonna value it?
Absolutely.
And if other people can't have it, are you gonna value it? Right? So what do women do? They say other people can't have it, you're lucky to get it, and what does that instigate in the man?
Desire to have it.
Desire to have it? Does that instigate the screening part of your brain or the chasing part of your brain?
Chasing.
Okay, so what you've got to train yourself to do is to realize you're never going to win. I'll tell you what, repeat this after me, there's too many icks.
There's too many icks.
That's the problem. If you try to do what's called say the word ick management doesn't work.
Ick management doesn't work.
It doesn't work because there's too many. Okay? You have too many like stray hairs. You have too many weird smells. Okay? By the time that you're out in a night of clubbing and you've been running around for 8 hours, you're sweating. Okay? You have too many fucking insecurities. Too much weird shit happened in your life. You've got too many jokes that didn't hit. There's just too much going on, guys. You're never going to make the cut. Okay? You can't control all that. What are you going to do? Have like a deodorant spray bottle in the fucking closet of the club? Fucking like perfect social skills. Every joke hits every time. You're perfect. you're the best. Like, that's not gonna happen. There's always something to screen you on. Same as this watch. There's plenty of things to screen this watch on. It's fragile. You can't throw it on the ground. It's too much to repair. So how do they get me to not worry that it's $2,000 in upkeep, can't put it on the ground? Really, the whole mechanism is kind of ridiculous. How do they get me to shut off that part of my brain and just want the watch? How?
Scarcity and investment.
Scarcity, investment, but the biggest thing is they screen me. Are you a vibe? But are you a snob? Okay, are you a paddock person or not a paddock person? You caught that? Are you a paddock person or are you not a paddock person? See what's going on there? So you stop thinking about whether or not you want it, you chase it. How about that gym that I talked to you guys about? Are you allowed in this gym or are you not allowed in this gym? Before I'm going, wait, I don't know if I want to spend $5-7 to go to the gym this year. I have a gym at home. Why don't I want to take an Uber and have to wait for the machine when I have a private home gym? Yeah, but you can't have it. Wait, what? Yeah, you can't have it. Wait, what? Yeah, you can't have the gym. Wait, what? Oh shit, how do we get in the gym? Why are you saying, how do we get in the gym when you can't have the gym?
Because you're not thinking about the ick.
Because that part, yeah, that part of your brain that was auditing the $5 or $7 a year between parking fees, car, Uber, time spent, all that stuff goes off, and you just think about how to get it. You have to keep it at that point. Okay, I've hung out with Dan Bilzerian. Actually, we talked a lot on the phone. I helped him with some stuff. And he literally over and over and over will say, as soon as they're not chasing, they find something wrong with you and leave. And that's him being very, very experienced. Literally, that's almost all he exclusively ever will talk about. He basically says that in any way, shape, or he says that if the girl is chasing you, she'll treat you better, she's more aroused, she's nicer, you get a better side of her, and everything's chill. As soon as you're chasing her, her behavior deteriorates, she becomes mean, because the active part of the brain, she gets turned off, because the ick part of the brain is getting switched on, okay? So as a guy, you're looking at the girl, she goes to the club, she has a fun life, she's dancing with her friends, she's got all the makeup and stuff on, all the war paint, she's having the best time, she doesn't need you. The second you do something wrong, you can't get it, so now you're chasing. She's got all these followers on Instagram, chasing. So how do you do your guy version? Well, the first one is what I told you guys, the release muscle. You have to, the foundation, the whole fucking thing is what we talked about for the past hour. You've got to be able to turn that part of your brain off, okay? You have to be able to turn that part of your brain off. Then what you do is you go into a release state. What does that do to you emotionally when you're in that state? Emotionally, how does that impact you? Emotionally, how does that impact you?
Like, you just don't care.
You're indifferent, but what else? What does it do to you emotionally when you become present?
You feel good. It kind of lifts you up.
It's a state of deep peace, sometimes bubbling into bliss. Now what you're doing is you're outdoing her self-state pumping. Okay? You are the bigger source of energy than her. Now again, a lot of idiots hear this and they go, well, I wanted to release and I just don't even want to go out. That's not true. When you transcend, you are loaded with energy. You're super present, loaded with energy, and you want to go do stuff. You become like a kid. You want to go do stuff, okay? So don't tell me some bullshit like, well, I'm present, I just don't want to do anything. Fuck off. You're not present. That is just you staying in your ego and being lazy and then saying you're present. It's another deceit to hold you asleep, okay? So it's like I said, right? The brain is stuck in that parasitic consciousness, right? Like the heroin, but instead of going heroin, you have a different version of that, which would be like comparison, clout, food, like it's a different loop that you're doing. It's a false identity loop. The real identity is no identity.
Making yourself cozy and comfortable with failure, calling it not failure.
It's basically just everything other than just being completely present and acting from that space. Everything else is fake. Okay, it's good to go into that mode temporarily to do audits, maybe do some complex math, things like that, right? You know, when I do schedules, for example, I'll spend about 3 weeks on a schedule, like a fucking air traffic controller, all the things we're gonna do that year, all the different budgets, you know, it's a lot of thinking. I'm not saying that you never think, but you're not operating from this heavy, dense mind all the time that's needing control. If you actually know how to look properly, when you see club promoters, for example, they get a lot of sex and they get a lot of drugs, they get an evil look in the eye. Being successful from a state of control actually generates evil. You ever notice a lot of promoters tangibly look evil in their pupils? That's because they're getting a lot of what they want. Okay? You'll see a lot of like tyrannical type people, like elites, et cetera, right? You wonder why things like the island happen. that happens because they go further down that path. It cuts them off from God. It cuts them off from flow. And the further they get cut off from flow, the more they go deranged, and that's why that happens. That's why, ironically, being rich is actually what fucked them up, because it disconnected them from flow. It started giving them what they want, but from the wrong space, okay? Better is to be in a state of release, create miracles, have prosperity, eventually perhaps getting persecuted for it, but knowing that that is going to take you to the next level past this physical existence. You're better off actually coming from there. Now that might sound scary, persecution, but in the grand scheme of your soul, you don't want to just have to keep coming back here. It's boring, okay? I can't look at another Best Buy or Walmart, dude. Okay, I'm done with this place. So you have to actually choose to transcend. You can't just stay stuck here, okay? So from there, let's ground some of these abstract concepts, okay? Let's go from there. Then what you have is you have the buyer-seller dynamic. So energetically, who has the buyer-seller dynamic now? Energetically. When you're in a state of release, who has the buyer-seller dynamic? Okay, so you have frame. Then what you do is you add to that screening questions. Okay, so where you're thinking, if you're talking to her and you're thinking, how do I impress her? Actually, what you need to do is screening questions. But if you do it from a space where you're in a deficit emotionally and you do a screening question, they know it's fake. So the vital combination has to be, I am in a better state than you. I feel better in my own body without your validation than you feel in your own body without my validation. Okay, say that after me. I feel better.
I feel better.
In my body. Without your validation. Than how you feel. In your body. Without my validation. So you need my validation. But it's not explicitly said. Go for it. It's not explicitly said. It is energetically communicated. Yeah, so you never self-qualify, right? So also, again, it's really, really hard to mechanically, just like you can't remove every ick, it's very hard to mechanically remove every single self-qualification thing that you do, but if you're in a state of release, you'll naturally remove them. You'll just stop self-qualifying. It'll naturally happen. It's also hard to naturally remember every single line to say to somebody, but if you're in a state of release, you'll naturally free associate. Could you imagine doing a speech like this on a PowerPoint? How hard would that be?
Impossible.
It'd be probably impossible. Yeah, it'd be virtually impossible, right? So I can't do slides because I can't do the same quality speech. Yep.
Could there be sub-qualification coming from a good space? So basically you're qualifying yourself, but just...
Okay, so if I said to you, listen, I've done personal growth seminars for a quarter of a century, and I genuinely think that I could help you deeply, because the energy behind it is not one of self-qualification. Like, I genuinely believe that if you attended my seminars, it would be the best thing you ever did for yourself. I really do mean that. Like, I actually get upset when I see people not attend, because I'm scared for how much they're gonna fuck themselves over. They're gonna go spend that same money on some bullshit, like some kind of discretionary spending, as opposed to investing in themselves. And I know how much I can help them, so I literally do pray for them to actually take the seminar. And I genuinely think that if you continue to work with me, it will change your life so profoundly. And if you talk to other people here that have worked with me, you're gonna see the results, okay? So that's not self-qualification, because energetically, I'm not qualifying to you. If I come in here flat broke, if I come in here not having the results, and I need money out of you, and I try to trick you by saying that, then the energy will be one of trickery, inauthenticity, and neediness, and it won't work. That being said, what is more potent in getting you to want to work with me? Me saying what I said, or being who I am?
Being who you are.
Probably being who I am. So it's not bad if I explicitly say it, but at a certain point, the self is always shining through. And so who you are is speaking more loudly than anything you could say. Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate more on that when you're talking about being who you are, but then also not kind of falling into the trap of the authenticity of just like, oh, I'm just gonna...
Yeah, so in other words, when someone's in the false self, and then they go, I'm gonna just let go, but then they're still in the false self,
okay,
that energy's not flowing through them. They're not the prism of some divine channel. They're just fucking lazy. And then as a result of that, they're just kind of tired and they just don't do anything. When you, in the Tao Te Ching, what it would say is, again, when we're attached to the world of 10,000 things, it creates a kink in the hose of the energy of the Tao that is in all of us that we do not have access to. We lose our capacity to have our antenna up and to be a broadcaster of that energy. And that energy is the realest thing that exists. It is the underlying reality of creation. And so as a result of that, when you tap into that degree of creation, what's going to start happening is you will operate at a genius level. This will be self-qualifying, but if you actually look at the quality of the information here in this room compared to the average quality in a personal growth seminar, the gap that you're seeing is because most of them are in it for money, most of them are in it for ego, and most of them have a fucking PowerPoint. So they're not actually able to access the further realms of their mind or the deeper elements of their potential. And it's the same thing, like, I've gone out and worked on social skills for 25 years, and I was never able to reach those peaks from a space of control. I was never able to get there. That was always the impediment. Maybe I could have gone and got double jaw surgery or got a Bugatti, but the point is that, like, that was not going to get the result. So what I'm trying to show you guys is that if you look, quick question.
Yeah.
Louder though.
What are the screening questions?
Let me get to that. So what I'm trying to show you guys is this. Basically, if you look at that movie, The Fountain, okay, the major lesson that Hugh Jackman's character has is that women are a little bit more oracles than men, and women are more tapped into that than men. Now, women's toxic version of that is they start doing a bunch of blow, they become self-destructive, they date degenerate fuckboys. But ironically, a degenerate fuckboy is a toxic version of actually something very healthy. Like, fuckboys actually have good stuff going on. A lot of fuckboys get there via drugs. A lot of fuckboys get there via being degenerate idiots. But they're actually more connected to what women really want than the average entrepreneur. Like, what is a guy like MGK, what energy is MGK connected to that it might piss you off that he's like some like degenerate, crazy, druggy, like fuckboy guy? And so you're like, well, I'm not like that. I'm better than MGK. But what is he connected to that women actually appreciate? Not the toxic part. And there's some toxic parts too, I promise you. But what are some non-toxic parts that he's connected to that women appreciate?
Artistic expression.
Artistic expression, what else?
I was going to say what he creates, but it's the same.
Flow.
That he creates, authenticity, flow, the now. He's probably a lot more in the now than a lot of guys are.
Well, he creates moments.
Creates moments. That's
She's, like,
huge.
very present, and that's maybe that's.
Yeah, when he's performing, very present. Yep. Yeah, he's actually better at the things that women value in their own life than they are. Catch that one. Catch that one.
Because they're going into state by creating moments for themselves.
He's actually doing a better job of what women aspire to do for themselves than the women are doing. He's more in the flow. He's more tapped in, right? In that moment, he's performing. Also, on a ton of drugs could be abusive. But I'm just saying, like, but he has those elements. If MGK was here in this room, he would probably be the dominant energetic force in this room, and we'd all be looking at him. Not just because he's famous. He's kind of like has mastery and wizardry over certain energy. That's what I'm saying when I say that I don't like when we talk about things like, you know, it's just the money or just the looks or whatever. Okay, MGK is actually very scrawny, but the point is that he has mastery over that area. And so if all that you do is just go make money and think women are prostitutes, a guy like that's going to come in and he's going to leave with your girl. It's going to happen very quick. Now, why is your girl going to leave with him? Like, well, she left. If she left with him, I don't want a girl like that. Well, then you better get gay real quick, buddy, because they're all doing it. So why does the girl feel like she has to? She deeply feels like she has to leave with him. Like it's a spiritual duty to go like suck this guy's dick in an alley. But why is it?
That's how she's going to ascend, basically.
Because that is what she deeply spiritually resonates with. Okay, look, like I said, if your wife will never ever have sex with you, is there gonna be a certain point where you're like, fuck this bitch? Like, I resonate with like being a good provider and then having a woman who's receptive to me. And if my wife's not gonna be receptive to me, then fuck that bitch. Like, do you ever have like thoughts like that? Or you could imagine yourself having thoughts like that? If a guy is not able to connect to with what women deeply spiritually resonate with at the highest of levels, look, it might not be fair that she went and did what she did, but do keep in mind that there's different parts of her brain that are not connecting to each other. Now, we as men are meant to be the leaders, right? Why is it that we as men who are supposed to be the leaders don't help to teach women from a young age, hey, those two different parts of your brain are not connecting to each other, so you do have to be aware you might fall into a little bit of a pitfall. But we don't teach that, right? Oh, because it's not woke to teach that. Okay, cool. But we're still the leaders. We're supposed to power through that. So women are in this point where they don't understand that different parts of the brain are not necessarily communicating. Men have their own versions of that, by the way. It's not just women. Men have their own versions of parts of the brain not communicating. So then from there, what happens is that the girl senses something that she deeply spiritually resonates with, okay? Like I'm starting to tell you, women spiritually resonate with fuckboys. They do. But that's not, but when you say, why do you think every girl's like, I dated 10 narcissists, I dated all these fuckboys? Because they deeply, powerfully resonate with that kind of flow state energy and creativity and energy of life. A guy like MGK or a DJ or a musician has more energy of life than a boring insurance guy. That's just the truth. So you can decline, you can be mad at women for having that impulse, or you could say that if that's what they spiritually deeply connect with, maybe I should relate to where she's at and not just be stubborn about it. And then the question becomes, what could I learn from women, and how might I realize that they were actually right about some things and I was actually wrong? Now, the truth is there's a toxic side of both, because when women decline men's leadership in certain areas, it fucks them up. Right? If women view men as shit and don't let a man offer his magic and his gifts, it fucks them up. So what is a traditional pairing between men and women then?
A masculine and feminine.
A masculine man who brings to the table what? Logic, safety, resources, right? You don't just generate resources by, rubbing a crystal. But I always think it's funny too, because like my friend Aaron Dowdy, he's kind of like really into like those concepts and he's rich. So like a lot of girls will probably see Aaron and they're like, I knew that if you just rub crystal, you get rich. Look at Aaron, But the point being is the average guy's not going to get rich rubbing a crystal, right? But at the same time, it's funny. It's funnier when as you actually pause and like most people here are not laughing at that joke because they don't get it. Think about how funny that is, right? Like a girl who like lives in that reality sees my friend Aaron Dowdy and she's like, I knew you could just become a millionaire just being like that, right? But he's kind of like the exception to the rule. So the thing is, basically, so if a woman disrespects a man's ability to have logic, do you think she loses out? How much does a woman lose out if she can't respect that a man, and women have logic too, but I'm just saying men have like some very deep, dense, aggressive logic. If a woman will not accept that gift, what's gonna happen to her life?
Chaos.
Fucked. Literally and physically. Fucked, okay? Now, from there though, do you not think that men need to take that medicine as well? What happens to your life if you don't accept the medicine from women?
No, you get fucked.
Right, kill more millions of people, take over more territory. Right, like that's who you become. You become that logical, miserable motherfucker. Logical, miserable son of a bitch. And you go build all these things and then you just die. So you're not even recognizing your infinite nature. You just die. Not good. It's bad. Yep.
I don't know if this is like relevant, but this is really reminding me of Jungian anima energies, like where men and women both have to integrate different sides of that
within
themselves. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very deeply reminding me of this.
Good. Well, thank you. Yeah. So are you guys kind of catching how this all works? You asked about screening questions. Yeah. Are you a vibe? Are you fun? Are you adventurous? I don't know if I can talk to you. Just little things like that. Watch how, another really good one of the best ever, make very funny, obviously funny, not dark, but funny arguments. That one tip will change your results in ways that you do not even understand. I learned that when I was in a wheelchair and I didn't know if I'd walk again. And women would come up to me and they'd be like kissing on me and stuff. And I was like, oh, this wheelchair thing's awesome, but none of them ever went home with me. And so I was on a dry spell. And what happened was I was like, well, how do I actually get women to take me seriously? Oh, I've got to be more like Paddock or AP. I got to start arguing with them. And I said to myself, what do women love to do? They love to argue. Why do women love to argue? Because they want to feel men's power. They want to feel men's strength. Women argue. Stop getting so mad when women argue with you. Women argue with you because it turns them on. Why does it turn them on? Because they feel your strength. They want to feel your indifference tangibly. So that turns them on. So basically what happens is that if you just provoke a very funny argument, okay, you ever been like talking to a kid, right? And you talk logically to the kid and the kid will indulge you. But as soon as you say, let's play hide and seek, the real kid comes out. Okay, like you're talking to the kid, you're like, well, do you learn about math? Or, where's the capital of the state? And the kid's like, okay, the capital of the state is Sacramento, and right? But then you're like, okay, want to play hide and seek? The kid's like, yes! And the kid goes crazy. That's who the kid really was the whole time. The kid was just indulging you. When you're talking to a woman, she'll kind of indulge you. You start a hilarious argument with her. She's like a kid playing hide and seek. She fucking loves it. Not every girl, don't do it blindly. Calibrate, be aware how she feels. But you're gonna see very, very quickly that girl is going to light up because she likes to feel your strength and she thinks it's funny. But she's also not in the same logical box that you are. So she's seeing it as this like massive discharge of libidinal energy. It's like libido energy discharging. So it's turning her on, right? It's the same as like, I don't know if you spanked her ass while you're having sex or something like that, right? So it's like, why does she like that? Like, you could be having sex with a girl, she's riding on top of you, and then you just go, psh, like that, and she'll scream. Why is that? Because it's a discharge. It's a discharge, right? So it's the same thing with, obviously, you do that with consent, to be clear. So it's a discharge. So in other words, when they can feel a guy who's very potent, has a lot of potent energy, a lot of sense of humor, does funny arguments, screens them, has good energy in the environment, now that guy's getting more seductive. He can free associate. He's not bound by his logical mind out of insecurity, because people like Napoleon, you could argue, are actually very insecure. Right? Needing a Bugatti, needing to have a double jaw surgery, arguably very insecure. So when you can transcend that, you now have those very seductive personality traits, and as a result of that, you'll get to the point where when it rains, it pours, and you're going to be at a point where, man, like you'll go out and you're like beating them off with a stick. And it doesn't matter if you're 5'2", and that's not me saying that to market something. I have every incentive in the world to say, no, you need money to be able to meet a girl, so take my money-making course. You need to be jacked to meet a girl, I'm gonna bring in my friend Greg O'Gallagher who'll teach you how to get jacked, et cetera, et cetera. I can do affiliate commissions, I can tell you that you need every little damn thing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You guys see that? Okay? So as a result of this, what I would tell you is that make mastery of social skills and expanding your energy and learning what is like actually seductive, what is actually attractive, and learning more about the underlying reality. Learn that as a separate pursuit from making cash. Something that has its own value. And then go get rich. Okay? Then go get rich. But don't let the money be the driver of attraction. Does that make sense? Yeah. You guys enjoy that talk?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Thank you. That is the discharge of the day. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.